Today on
Doomed!
It's Reddit versus Wall Street. On today's show, we'll be talking all about the rise and fall of GameStop stock. How hedge funds, well, some hedge funds, I should say, lost everything, and others happened to gain some, too, I should say. And we'll be running through what Robinhood, the app that supposedly allows everyone to take part in the stock market, what Robinhood's role was in the rise and fall of all this GameStop stock. And in my ear right now, I honestly hear there's double play music here. Let me fix this here. A little bit of technical difficulties, but that always happens on this show. Anyway, without any further ado, now that all tech difficulties are fixed, let me introduce my guest for today's episode. Joining me today to break down all this stock market stuff, which quite honestly I, before last week, knew nothing about. Andray Domise. He's a contributing editor at McLean's and host of the Drop Squad podcast. Andray, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate that.
And Andray, when I was putting the show together, I asked, on Twitter, I basically said, hey, everybody who follows me, do you guys have any guest suggestions for this stock market episode? Something I know zero about. Didn't even know where to start, who to even look into. And by far, the most suggested person to have on this show to talk to was you.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. And to everybody who suggested me, I'm just going to apologize in advance for disappointing you.
Well, listen, I checked out because the reason I think a lot of people suggested you is because you put together a bit of a TikTok series, I guess I could call it, a two-parter where, one was looking at what the basics of what was happening and another one looking at what Robinhood did. And I took a look at what you put together, and it was a very succinct summary of what happened. And obviously we'll be going a little bit further into it. But, if you could summarize it for the TikTok audience, then that's someone I want to talk to, because I need someone to talk to me as if I was, I guess if we're doing Reddit talk today, being that Reddit plays such a big part, I need someone to explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so on the TikTok, I actually, it took me like 7 TikToks, so almost 7 minutes to get through to explain this whole thing, right? I don't know that anybody ever watched 7 consecutive TikToks before, so the fact that people did that and stuck through it is just like mind-blowing to me. But if you did you want me to start from the very beginning, like how this whole thing went down, or?
Yeah, let's actually start with, can you give me the history of the stock market? What is a stock market?
Yeah, would you like me to start with the Dutch tulip crisis? No. Okay. So the issue, the initial issue was that there are companies that make a hell of a lot of money shorting stock. Now, for anybody who's not clear what shorting stock is, and I should also be clear that it's naked shorting stock, so I will try to make these distinctions without making it too long. So if you have a stock, right, and you think that there's going to be a shift in the direction of the stock's market price, you can offer what is called an option, which is basically like a little side bet as to which direction the stock is going to go. Now, the option, two of them are called calls and puts. The important one for this conversation is called a call. You can do what's called a short call on the option, which is basically to say, give it like, I don't know, a month. Give it a month's time limit and say that, all right, I'm going to sell you the option of buying this stock. And if the stock goes up in price, you'll be able to buy it for this agreed upon price. So let's say that there's a stock that I have, and it's worth $50. And I think it's actually going to go down to $25. I can say to you, all right, well, I will sell you this stock at a premium, okay? And you will tell me what price you think is fair to buy the stock at, and then I'll write up a contract. So let's say the stock is $50, but we agree that the strike price, that is the option at which they can call the stock in, is $55. what I'll do is say, all right, I'll let you pay $2 or $3. So let's go with $2. $2 for the option of purchasing 100 shares of the stock. Okay, so I get $200, which is cool because I get money in my pocket right away. And I also think the stock is going to go down in price, so it's a bit of a steal because I'm offloading a stock, and I'm making some money along the way. Cool. All right. The person who thinks that it's going to go up in price, if it goes up to, let's say, $100, gets to buy it from me at the agreed upon $55, right? So from their point of view, if they think that they've done better fundamental and technical analysis than I have, and they think that it's actually going to go in the opposite direction, they can buy the stock from me at essentially what's a discount, because in a month's time, if it's gone up to $100, they're buying it at 55, so they've made some money, right? So they've spent a couple hundred, but then they get 100 shares, $55 a share, which is great. Now, here's the problem. Hedge fund companies, because they're not regulated the same as other companies, I mean, first of all, like, institutional investors are not supposed to take short positions. Like, that, there's regulation behind that, right? So like your average mutual fund is not going to have short positions on things. They purchase stock, they hold the stock, they have to disclose to you what stocks they're holding, like in the prospectus, like this little booklet that tells you, hey, this is what this mutual fund has. It'll tell you, like, here are our top 10 stocks, and there's a disclosure to the SEC as to like what stocks they all hold. Hedge funds are not regulated the same way, so they don't have to do any of that. They can, it's pretty much Wild West. They can do whatever the fuck. So with a hedge fund, they don't have to tell you what their short positions are, and they can do what's called a short and smear, which is illegal. They're not supposed to do it, but it fucking happens anyway, which is that they take short positions on these stocks, and then they hire investigators to go look into these companies. They hire PR companies to like do little whisper campaigns. They do like unethical stuff to drive down the price of the stock and make sure that they capture their investment. One of those house always wins situations. But here's what's worse. Not only do they do this side work to short the stock, this unethical stuff to short the stock or to drive the stock price down, but oftentimes they never even owned the stock in the first place. So they essentially borrow the stock from somebody else. They sell somebody the option to purchase the stock at this agreed upon price. And if a month's time passes, or 6 months, or whatever the short time is, if that time passes and the stock price goes down, well, they've made money on the stock. You dig? And if it goes up, usually they will just have a stop loss scenario where they say, okay, if it goes over this much money, let's just get rid of the stock. Let's just dump our position and get out of there, right? So the issue isn't so much the shorting of the stock, which has got some ethical concerns on its own, but the fact that you don't even own the fucking stock in the first place. Because if you don't own it, then to fulfill on the contract, if somebody says, okay, well, it's now gone up to $100, I want to buy the stock off you, it's incumbent on you, the person who didn't own it in the first place, to find the stock somewhere and then sell it to the person that you wrote the option to in the first place. Am I losing you, or does this all make sense?
No, I think it makes sense to me. Let me for people
Okay.
who
Let
maybe
me see
can I
if
try
I
it
get
this
different way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
And then I'm going to
yeah.
ask you, then I'll try to break it down
Okay.
from what I see. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I tried this one with video games, and I think people got it, so let me try this one. Let's say that your friend lent you his copy of Demon's Souls for PS5, right? Okay.
Okay,
now,
let's
you,
do
for
this.
whatever for whatever fucking reason, you thought the price on Demon's Souls at your local GameStop was going to go down. So this game is worth, say, $50 on a trade, you think, okay? But you think that everyone's going to get sick and tired of playing Demon's Souls. It's already been out for now it's 2 generations of systems it's out for, so nobody really wants to play this game. You think it's going to go down from $50 to $10, right? So you think, okay, here's what I can do to make myself a little bit of money. I'm going to take this copy that I borrowed from my friend. I'm going to go trade it in at GameStop. I'm going to hang on to it for a month because he doesn't want it back anytime soon. And what I'll do is I'll buy it back at the lower price later, and then I'll just like return it to my friend and pocket the difference. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. So basically,
Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
traditionally, the game one makes a lot more sense, honestly. But maybe that's just my mind.
Yeah.
But so like traditionally, I feel like you would invest in a stock, because I really want to like drive this part home. I think, and I want to sort of just put like a real like bolded in print, I italicize it. Traditionally, I feel like if you would buy a stock, you would buy it for a company that you believe in, a company that you think is going to do well. What these short sellers do is they buy stock in a company that they think is going to completely blow it. Like they're going to suck. And that's why they buy it, or not technically buy it, they borrow it banking on the stock tanking, and then that's how they make their money back when they actually go and buy the shares to sell to the person who bought it from them for a higher price. Do I got that correct?
Right. Yes. That's very close to what's going on. And the final item here is, okay, so when you actually have to return the game to your friend, what happens if they've actually sold out all the copies? Let's say that they went in the complete opposite direction. There was a sudden run on Demon Souls because, I don't know, like the software developer released a bunch of updates and now it's like multiplayer and shit and people really want to play it. So they sold out all their copies, but you still have to return the game to your friend. So not only has it gone up in price, which kind of screws you because you still owe your friend the copy of that game, but now you can't find it anywhere because it's completely sold out. What do you do then? You're fucking screwed, right? Now your friend thinks that you're a piece of shit and probably won't lend you any more games, right? You've just lost some credibility. That's actually what's called a short squeeze in a sense, where there's more short positions outstanding than there is stock available to purchase, which is why many people have alleged that Robinhood restricted purchasing for GameStop and some of the other companies that were part of this Wall Street bets fiasco.
Let's not jump ahead yet. Let's not jump ahead yet.
Yeah.
People confused.
Okay. Yeah. But the whole idea being like, why couldn't people buy the stock on Robinhood? Well, some have said, some allege that because larger hedge funds needed to cover their positions by being able to find the stock or find copies of the game or whatever. It's almost like the manager of that GameStop being friends with you, the asshole, and was like, okay, but I'll just like put some copies aside to make sure that when Matt comes around looking for this game that just went up in price, he's actually able to buy it. He might be screwed because the price has gone up, but at least he can get a copy and still have his credibility intact. Right. So that's what people have alleged that Robinhood was doing. So it creates a pretty shitty scenario where this hedge fund company loses credibility, loses a bunch of money, but the creditors are happy because fuck the hedge funds. And frankly, I'm pretty much of the same position.
Right.
So yeah, I hope that all makes sense.
It does, and I think that short seller break, because short selling's been going on for I don't know, but it seems like a tale as old as time, right? I mean, this has been a practice that's been done for who knows how long, if not since the stock market's inception. Who knows? But
no, I mean, there was a time that even shorting when you're able to cover your position, there was a time that was completely illegal. It's actually like a fairly recent thing that shorting has become a regular part of market activity. As a matter of fact, in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, like the short sales were suspended temporarily. The SEC was actually like, no, you know what? Fuck the short sales. I don't care if you think that Enron or short sales helped expose Enron or what good it does for the market. Like, no, we're not doing this. Like, just chill the fuck out for a minute while we get our stuff together. And unfortunately, it was only a temporary measure. Market activity resumed to normal. So now we find ourselves in this scenario again.
Right. I mean, it's short selling. Honestly, seems to me like I don't understand how it is legal. I'm glad you mentioned that it wasn't legal for as long as I thought it was. But it seems like the very antithesis of what everyone dreams the stock market's all about. You put your money in a company that you believe in, and then they do well, and you cash out and make all this money, and everyone's happy together. I mean, these are large companies, like what you mentioned before about the short and smear, where they actually advocate to you go actively. I'm looking for that's the word. They actively go out and look to undermine these companies. It seems like, there should be a disclosure there that that they're short selling when doing this, right? I mean, it seems a bit like unethical, if you ask me. Oh, did we lose you, Andray? I think we did. Hold on, let me call you right back. It happens. 1 second.
Hello?
Hey, we lost you for a second.
Hey, sorry about that. It occasionally happens. The internet connection out here can be spotty sometimes.
Yeah, you're up in Canada, right?
I sure am.
Oh, yeah. That's what you get for living
I've got gigabit internet and everything, but the thing is, I'm like, in a little suburb outside of Toronto, and sometimes, like, the lines are meh. Anyway, a little bit of noise on the line. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. So basically, what I was saying when I lost you was, It seems like the short selling is the very antithesis of what people believe the stock market is. That it's you put your money into a company that you believe in. Everyone does well. When the company does well, everyone cash out. Everyone's happy. I mean, even what you just mentioned about shorting and smearing, I believe was the term. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems to be the most unethical practice you could possibly describe when describing this
But
sort of stuff.
unfortunately, in the age of unsustainable and continuous growth, we haven't had anything approaching a stock market that is based on like the productivity of companies for like going on 2 generations now, right? Like this hasn't been true since Gen X was doing investing. So since like the late 1970s, early 1980s, like since basically the Reagan years, the stock market itself has been the product of rampant speculation. So in the sort of like what what some refer to as the post-Fordist years, like in the years post where jobs, labor, productivity, profits, and all that was gained from human capital, like human beings working inside of workplaces and producing things. That hasn't been true since the 1970s, pretty much, and it hasn't been true of the market since around the same time, because now we've just been in this world of this like bizarre financialization, like this outside capital, whether it comes from investors or like the the hedge funds, and there's like multiple avenues for essentially like what are dead companies to continue to thrive, and for healthy companies to be driven down into the dirt by speculative activity. And that's just the way the market has functioned, for the better part of like 40 going on 50 years now. And the unfortunate part of that is, many pensions, for example, depend on that growth year over year. Like they're looking for, I mean, if this was like 10, 12, 15 years ago, you would expect that over a 20-year time span that you're getting double-digit return on your investment, right? Like people were expecting 10, 11, 12% return on their investment over a long span of time. Now you're kind of lucky to get even like 7 or 8% return year over year on your investment, and it's not coming from anywhere that's healthy or fundamental. It's coming from this rampant speculation. So these pension companies are sort of like farming out some of the responsibilities of getting this growth to these hedge funds. And when the hedge funds blow up, it actually hurts workers because it hurts their pensions. And from my point of view, I'm almost of the opinion that we should return the market, if we're going to be using the stock market as an avenue for improving human lives or whatever people want to say that it's for, then it should be based on these fundamentals, not on the speculation. And maybe we do have to go to a time where we're only seeing 4%, 5%, 6% return on investment over a lengthy period of time, because is it coming from the actual productivity of or production of goods and services and trade, or is it coming from speculation? We need to get the speculative activity out of it.
All right, that's well said. Actually, I can't even say anything better myself about that. That's so. Let's jump into the GameStop portion of the show. I mean, you already gave us the short selling example via video games, which is perfect. So basically, all of a sudden, I believe it was early last week. Geez, time flies. Early last week, all of a sudden, the media is covering the rise of the GameStop stock. All of a sudden, this stock that financial gurus and Wall Street types looked at as worthless was all of a sudden rising. $80, $100, $200. I think it peaked at almost $400. What was going on there?
Okay, so let's go back to our GameStop example, right? So let's say that your friend was able to find a copy of the game, right? But it actually wasn't at the store that he sold it at. It was at a different store, and the reason he couldn't find it at the original store is because somebody found out that your friend, being an asshole, went and like sold your copy of the game, right?
Right.
Now, because so many people are buying this game and it's flying off the shelves, it indicates to other people, holy shit, this game is flying off the shelves. Maybe I better get my copy before I can't get one either. Oh, and it's also not available for digital download. So let's get that off the table right away. So what you've done essentially is, in your panic to go and get this game to make sure that you can give your friend his copy back, you've driven up the price of the game. Now, did Redditors drive up the price all by themselves? No. what they did was they were sort of like a leading indicator to the rest of the market that there is a run on this stock. And some larger investors, one of them being like Citadel Capital, a couple of like multi-billionaires, including I don't know if it's including Elon Musk, but he did at least indicate that it was interesting to him. But at least a few multi-billionaires did jump into the stock, and that drove a bit of a frenzy. Like everybody was flooding into getting the stock. As a matter of fact, the Wall Street Bets subreddit has like this little cool nifty little tool that shows who has, like, in their subreddit, who has the highest positions in such and such company, right? So there are people that have like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars now invested in these stocks, and not because they had personally this money to invest, but because the investment that they put into it ballooned through the growth of this stock over the short term. But that was actually driven by other institutional investors and hedge fund companies that either A, already had a position in GameStop, or B, put themselves into a position, like either did this option that's called a put, which is like, I'm going to sell this stock at such and such price at such and such time, or people that had gotten long into GameStop ahead of time, such as BlackRock, which is like the world's largest asset manager. So, it's not Redditors that are driving this. It's, for example, like I think the largest position that I saw in that subreddit was like $22 million after the growth had already happened. But BlackRock Investments is worth $1.6 trillion, and I think they made like a smooth billion off of the growth of that stock. Right.
Jeez.
So it's not the little guys are sort of like the vanguard army. Like they're like the forerunners into the fray. Like they charge into the fray, they take all the bloodshed and the losses, and then the large institutional investors are like the cavalry who kind of like swoop in and take the credit.
So this is sort of not what is this wasn't what was covered over the past like week or two in terms of how the mainstream was covering this, where it was a bunch of Redditors basically bought up all these GameStop stocks and ballooned it to the price it was at, and now all these Redditors in this subreddit, which we'll get a little bit more into, Wall Street Bets, are now millionaires. And I think a lot of people also were waiting for this week, and I see that now with some of the coverage now, where GameStop stock is now back to under 100, and everyone who bought it when it was over 100 is now out of whatever they put into it. It could be a lot of money.
Yeah, they're out of the money. Yeah, they're out of the money. But keep in mind that beginning of January, the stock was only worth like $20. Right. So if I think even if you got into the stock when it started to make the news, which was like 2 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure there's people who still made money on it. And even before it made the news, when it was becoming a thing on Reddit, but before it like exploded to like cataclysmic proportions, because I think as of last week, Tuesday, it was worth $148, and then the next day it practically doubled. And then prior to that, it had been trading somewhere around like 109, 110, and then prior to that, like somewhere in the $80 range. So there are people who are still in the money, like who are on paper, like still showing gains on it. I don't know exactly what the fair market price for the stock is supposed to be. I would never mention that on your show whatsoever. But I think there are people who still made money on it. It's just down to a matter of, when will the large institutional investors say, all right, time to cash out. We've already made our money. And when that happens, I think it's going to settle at its proper market value.
Right. There was one hedge fund I saw in the news today that they settled, and they made like $700 million or something like that.
That probably was BlackRock.
It might have been. I'll double check that.
Okay. A hedge fund. You said a hedge fund. You're right.
Hedge fund, right.
Yeah.
But so let's now talk about a little bit more about Wall Street Bets. So this is a subreddit where basically stock traders, like your average, they're called retail investors, the common person who buys and sells shares. There's just a place where they go, and do they usually make bets like this? I mean, it's called Wall Street Bets, but do they usually go all out and what's the deal with that subreddit?
Okay, so this is kind of the cool thing, because I've never seen that. Like I started work in the financial industry back around 2004-ish. And I left the industry around 2016, right? And that entire time, so we're talking about like 12 years. And that whole time, I had never seen anything like this. And in the time that I had been paying attention to because I was very interested in like getting involved in the financial industry because my mom gave me some financial books, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I was interested in this stuff since I was like 19 years old. That was a long time ago. I've never seen anything like this. Like, I've never seen people willing to torch their own money to fuck over larger institutions. I've never seen that happen before. So on the one hand, it's kind of like, it's interesting that people are willing to lose the money, and I think that's a terrible thing, because if you don't have the money to spare and then you think that you're going to make a bunch of money on this, like this fad stock, and then you end up losing it and you can't afford to lose it, like I see that as being a really rough ride, especially given that like people are having a really hard time right now. On the other hand, if you have the money to lose, like you're not worried about it, like you'd already accounted for the possibility, which is very high, that this could just go down to zero and you could lose everything. If you already have inured yourself to that, and you're willing to light it on fire just to make sure that a hedge fund company catches also, it's fucking funny to me. That is the most like outstanding troll I can even think of. It's like the Joker burning half his pile of money, saying I'm only burning my half.
Right.
You know?
Do you think though? Because I also, my original take last week, and this was a topic last week on the Majority Report. It was the talk on that Thursday show I was on last week, and I read a lot about it in one day to find out what was going on because I knew it'd be the topic. And my original take was this is I actually even downloaded Robinhood and bought my first couple of shares of stock. It wasn't GameStop because at that point I was not even getting. I was not touching that. Yeah, I bought some AMC because it was cheap, and to me it was for people who don't know. After GameStop, there were some other stocks that the subreddit started telling people to buy to try to do the same thing. AMC was one of them, and to me, AMC seemed pretty safe because it's fairly low right now. I mean, I'm down a little bit, but I didn't buy that much to begin with, and I feel like it's a stock that when the movie theaters open back up, AMC stock will once again go back up a little bit at the very least.
You want to hear something wild?
What?
Somebody on that subreddit. Remember I told you there's a nifty tool that tells you like who holds what position, how much stock they hold, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
There's somebody on that subreddit that holds 15% of AMC. Could you imagine? Like, that's how much like major shareholders are supposed to have. 15 fucking percent of the AMC movie chain. That's crazy.
Now this is you mentioned this before, so let's move back a little bit. And I guess I misunderstood, and I thought I got it.
Yeah.
So this is just people in the subreddit, or is this? Okay, I thought
individuals in this, like, not the subreddit as a collective. I mean individuals in the subreddit.
I actually thought they were just tracking which like hedge funds owned which, because that's how they knew to go after GameStop, right? They wanted to take down a specific hedge fund, right? Let's get to that actually before we move on.
Yeah, I'll explain that to you. So there's a thing called a stock quote, right? Which is basically like a regularly published report that shows like the everything from like the market valuation of the stock, outstanding shares, yada yada yada. But it also like reports the short positions and who has them, right? So remember I said before that if you were like a mutual fund company or some large institutional investor, that you're supposed to disclose which stocks you hold. But if you're a hedge fund, you don't necessarily have to disclose which stocks you hold. So you can't go to like a hedge fund and say, hey, can you show us like a prospectus and what it is that you hold? Because they could just be like, fuck you. But you can go to the stock quotes for the NYSE. You can do that for NASDAQ and other trading platforms or market indices. And yeah, it'll tell you like, here's who has the outstanding short positions. So you can do the work yourself, really. Like calculate what is called the outstanding float and figure out, oh shit, there's actually more short positions than there are stock available. Because there's when you have a company issue shares, there's going to be what's called closely held stock. So people who like belong to the executive, if you're like the CEO and the executive team, or if you're like the family that started up the company and so on, but also employees of the company that get like stock purchase plans as part of their salary and benefits package. So that's all going to be held closely, and then everything else that's like sold out to the market, those are what's called the outstanding shares. So the whole point being, if you can figure out who's holding a short position, then by also figuring out the outstanding shares, you subtract one from the other, and it's like, holy shit, there's actually more shorts than there are stock available, which means that we can fuck these companies over if we can drive the stock price up. That's kind of wild.
Right. So they basically, is there a reason why they targeted this specific hedge fund that was shorting all these GameStop stocks?
I think it only happened because there was one particular Redditor who was, I think, fairly popular in the subreddit. And I'm only just like, capturing the story lately because I wasn't part of the subreddit before. I was only like putting together information from what I was able to ascertain, both in like reported stories and from the subreddit, which I'm now a part of. And it turns out that there was this one Redditor who was like, no, I actually love GameStop. Like, I've done some fundamental analysis and this company looks just really good. Here are the reasons why. I'm hanging on to the stock and I'm gonna keep buying more. I'm buying more, baby. I'm buying the stock. And then I think because of this person's confidence and charisma, and people were like, yeah, we're gonna buy this too. And at some point, somebody, I don't know if it was this person whose username is deep fucking value. I don't know if they figured it out or if it was somebody else in the subreddit that figured it out, but somehow they all figured out or thought to look and say, whoa, wait a second. There is a company that's heavily exposed on shorts to the stock, but there aren't enough stock available out there for them to purchase and cover their position when their short call period is up. And because it happened to be, I believe it was last week, Friday, they were like, yeah, if we just buy this stock and drive some market activity and hold on to it until the deadline when they have to return the stock or at least locate it, then it's going to blow them up. And that's exactly what happened. But it was the Redditors kind of, like I said, leading the charge, but it was a larger institutional investors that were investing behind these Redditors and helping to drive the price up that allowed Citadel to essentially almost kill, if not cannibalize, one of the other hedge funds on the market, because Citadel ended up having to bail out Melvin Capital because Melvin Capital was so short, right?
Melvin lost now, what, like billions of dollars on
GameStop did lose billions
shorting.
of dollars, yeah. And I think Citadel, I think it was something to the effect of like $2.75 billion that they had to take out.
Wow, so, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So basically, imagine now you've just lost, like, somebody else has taken out a mortgage on your house because you were too foolish and your eyes were too big for your stomach. And this simple video game, Demon Souls, has now got you like half your mortgage now belongs to somebody else because you were so foolish that you couldn't not take that bet.
Right. Now, what I was bringing up before, how I bought my first stocks when this was all going down, just because I wanted, a little bit, just because I wanted my fingerprints on this. Because at the time, I was like, even if, obviously my couple of $20, like my couple $20 here and there, didn't really mean anything. But for me, I felt like I wanted my fingerprint on there. But
I know a lot of people who did that. Like, a lot of people were just like, I want to be part of this. Like, I don't care if I lose money. Like, I'll put in my $50 or $100, whatever. I want to be a part of seeing somebody get torched on this, like a large institutional investor. But you also got to understand that money that you put in drove up the price for larger companies that already held, like that had a long position in this company. So the money that you put in helped BlackRock, right? So, like it helped some of these larger institutional firms.
Right. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up here. Because, at the time, my take was, as that last Thursday, as I'm researching all this for Majority Report and I'm buying my first stocks, I'm like, yeah, this is great. They're taking down a hedge fund, and their rhetoric is, this isn't an accidental thing. Their rhetoric is very, anti-hedge funds and anti these financial institutions over on that subreddit. So I'm all aboard. And then I'm doing a little bit more research afterwards. I'm looking more into this. I'm reading some alternative takes, and I am hearing exactly what you're saying, and I mean, I guess it makes sense if you already knew a lot about the stock market. There really is almost no way just a bunch of retail investors were able to drive up the stocks that much on their own. There had to be some big money behind them purchasing large quantities of shares in this stock. And, and I'm hearing that these big, these other hedge funds are now cashing out and making all this money. By the way, the one that made $700 million today is a hedge fund called Senvest Management.
Okay. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, they're also like one of those algorithmic trading. Well, I mean, which most hedge fund companies do employ, like some level of algorithmics, but there are some that simply like don't depend on like human ingenuity, but depend on like essentially like what are giant supercomputers to tell them exactly what purchases to make, what not to make, and let the computers do the trading for them. Like, they're able to make these trades like in fractions of a second, and human beings simply aren't able to compete with that. Not regular investors. The most you can do is really just like catch onto their tailwind. You know what I mean? Like, we, the regular retail investors, are not able to make these moves. We can help the swings, but we're not going to like drive this growth by ourselves.
Right, right. So my question to you then is: was this really as worth it, and fucking with the system as it's being billed as? I mean, surely it's great that they screwed over some hedge funds, but it seems like the trade-off was other hedge funds made more than they would have otherwise. I mean, a lot of people compared this to like Occupy Wall Street 2.0 or something, but I don't remember those protesters camping out in Zuccotti Park helping out the hedge funds in any way. I mean, I saw people even saying this was more successful than Occupy. I mean, Occupy didn't get what they wanted, but they did set the stage for how we talk about income inequality to this very day. I mean, people still understand what's going on in this world based on the whole 99% versus 1% rhetoric that Occupy Wall Street basically engraved in everyone's brains. So, I mean, I don't know if this was more. I mean, maybe to that one hedge fund that lost billions, this certainly meant a lot more than people camping out in Zuccotti Park. But overwhelmingly, did this have an effect? Like, is there going to be some sort of long-term effect that really does change the financial system from this? Or is this just basically a one-time deal where everyone was a bit stressed out and one hedge fund or two hedge funds here and there got fucked, but pretty much everyone's going to go on as business as usual now that this is all dying down?
If you think that this set of events was more consequential than Occupy Wall Street, pull your head out of your ass. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, have you like made some disruptions and some headlines? Have you like changed the narrative for a little bit? Yes, you have. Have you possibly opened up an avenue to shareholder activism? Yeah, maybe something positive can come out of this, and people can find more avenues to disrupting capitalism than just street protests. I'm not saying that this is going to be more effective or more consequential. I'm saying it's just another, like, shareholder activism has been a thing for a very long time, right? Like, there's a reason that, for example, anti-mining groups are able to go to shareholder meetings for mining companies because either they hold stock in the company or the shareholder has allowed them to step in their place and speak truth to power. Like that's been a tactic among activist groups for decades. But I don't think it's a complement. It's a complementary to what's already happening. It is by no means a replacement. And I don't think you've changed the conversation so much as opened up a new avenue for people to participate. But let's be very clear on something. This is investing. Like, this is, you're still at the craps table, and you might win. That's fine. It's very likely that you're not going to. If you want to put in the time to understand things like fundamental analysis and technical analysis, if you have the time during the daytime to do day trading, to like sit around and like wait for the proper market signals and do your buys, your sells, make your market calls, exercise your options and all that, sure, go ahead. But let's not pretend that is activism. The activism is in what you do with these shares that you now hold. Like, fucking over a hedge fund company is not something that you're going to accomplish on your own, because you need another big hedge fund company to help act on your behalf to inflate the value of the stock, blow up their position, so on and so on. If you're going to do something with it, like, I don't know, pay some bills off, save up for a mortgage down the road, pay for your children's education, maybe even use the money and put it towards a good cause. So you siphon off some of your profits and put it towards like bail funds and mutual aid efforts and so on. Sure, yeah, absolutely. But is this in and of itself activism? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. And to say that it's more consequential than Occupy Wall Street is, I'm sorry, that's just laughable.
Right. Yeah, I had a feeling that'd be your take, but I wanted to, get what you thought, being that, you know a lot more about this than I do. One thing that actually stuck with me was, and we'll talk about Robinhood, because to me, what happened to Robinhood is actually, I think, a bigger deal than even what happened with GameStop specifically. But there was on CNBC, there was one of those talking heads speaking to that billionaire Chamath or something like that. I forgot his name, but he usually goes on there and gives them a take that they're not used to hearing from other billionaires. I mean, he's still a billionaire, but he likes to fuck with the CNBC guys when he's on CNBC. So one thing that stuck out with me though was the host was trying to make sense of why, how it wasn't right that GameStop be valued at this way. And then the guest he had on, the billionaire, said to him, yeah, but what about like people who buy into Tesla?
Yeah.
And the host then goes ahead and says, well, people buy into Tesla based on what they perceive its value will be in the future. And I'm thinking, well, dude, like you could say the same thing about GameStop. Like maybe you're not invested in there, or you have a boner for Elon Musk or something, and he's like, Tesla's just a cool stock for very serious financial people to be into. But like, what is? And you mentioned this before, how you didn't want to give a what the true value of GameStop stock is, because really, what is the true value of any of this? They keep saying like it should really be what they're worth based on the company's earnings, but then they're also talking out the other side of their mouth saying Tesla stock is worth more based on what the very serious financial people think Tesla could one day be. Like the whole thing sounds like bullshit to me based on what company is one of their faves and which company they think is worthless. In this case, it's a video game store company.
Yeah, I think so. That would be Chamath, and I'm going to try and get his name right. It was Palihapitiya, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the billionaires that I was referring to earlier that purchased into or bought a put position on GameStop. And you're right, he is a bit of a troll. And I mean, as much as I hate billionaires, I do kind of like the dude because he generally will just like go and fuck with hosts a little bit, right?
I said one note though. I said the same thing, and then I found out on air when I said, I kind of like that he fucks with them, even though he's a billionaire. I found out that he's running for governor of California with a 0% state tax or something like that. So still a billionaire, but yeah, it's fun to watch him fuck with these CNBC guys for sure.
Well, the thing is, because these people they're toads, like they're absolute they're not. I don't consider them journalists because the kind of journalism that they engage in is not adversarial in any way, shape, or form. They exist pretty much to suck off the industry. Like to sit around and watch, like a CNBC journalist or a Fox Business News journalist, have a conversation with a billionaire and just like not only not challenge them, but ask them questions like, oh, so what does it feel like to be rich? Like it's disgusting to me. You know what I mean? So even if it's a multi-billionaire just kind of like putting these serfs in their place, I'm happy to see it. I'm sorry, I just am.
I agree.
But to answer your question, you're absolutely correct. Who determines the market value of the company is, well, the market. Like whoever owns the stock and decides to purchase the stock for a certain price is who determines the price. It's not a Fox Business News or a CNBC journalist. It is not a Financial Post journalist. It's not a Bloomberg journalist. The issue is they're so used to being able to dictate to their audience what the market is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to accomplish, and what the pricing of these companies is, that when they're wrong, they look foolish. And I've said to a couple of my friends in conversations about this, the SEC and business journalism have a tautological purpose, and that is to not look stupid. And I think for the SEC, the fact that there are Congress people now looking to subpoena some of the Redditors from the subreddit and possibly even have them testify as to what it was they were thinking and what were they doing when they purchased the stock. But also these business journalists that are trying to like throw cold water on this and cast doubt as to people's intentions and whether shareholders, retail investors should even be allowed to swing the market this way. What it is that they look stupid, and they exist for the purpose of not looking stupid. So unfortunately, this is where we're at. I'm not really keen on trying to like mine the intentions of any of these people because I've always taken their intentions to be venal and corrupt in nature. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, to me, the whole the stock market to me has always been so like a turnoff to me because these companies that basically don't do anything for your daily life are worth all this money. And like, listen, I could tell you right now, AMC and GameStop are worth more to me than any of these companies that are worth tons of money on the stock market. I go to GameStop, I would buy video games, and it provide me hours of fun. I would go to AMC movie theaters, and the $12 I would pay for a movie, $15 I'd pay for a movie, worth it for the 2.5 hours worth of entertainment I would get. Yet for some reason on the stock market, these number financial companies that honestly don't ever enter my life whatsoever are apparently worth all this money. Like, to me, it never made sense. It's all bullshit that the companies that actually everyday people would like they actually interact with on a regular basis, they're the companies apparently that are worthless to the finance world,
Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Like, you do go to watch a movie like you can see the value of AMC. You go inside the theater, you buy a ticket, you buy the popcorn, you sit in the seat, you watch the movie. So it's like, there's value here. Like I'm seeing how this brick and mortar business is providing value to me, a customer. And then you get down into what are the actual fundamentals. Does AMC make money off of the films that it shows? No, not really. They have licensing deals with the movie production or the movie studios, and that they're able to license or get a license to show these movies, which they have to pay for. And the money that they make is actually on the concession stand. So they're not really making money at the box office. They're making money out of what they're able to sell you. So if you go in there, you don't buy your overpriced popcorn, then they're essentially losing money on your ass being in that seat, which is why they have to like find ways to like
AMC's
mine
lost a
more money
lot
out
of money
you.
off of me. AMC's lost a lot of
Yeah.
money off of me.
Right. If you're not buying like the D box seats, if you're not sitting in the 3D, theater and so on, if you're not buying all the frills, like they're not making money off of you. Same thing with GameStop. Like, are they making money off of the brand new games that they sell? Are they making money off their consoles, or are they making money off their accessories and making money off the games that have been traded in and they want to sell you the used copy and like the warranty and so on? So, that all being said, like, so where is their money being found? And then for some of these like large companies like Alphabet, Tesla, Facebook, etc., where's their value? And what exactly is it that you're getting? You can't see the value that you're getting on Facebook because, I mean, A, you didn't pay for it, and B, it's probably just more annoying for you to be on this social media platform than, like, you're not getting any value out of it. It's just making you aggravated. You're getting angry at your relatives and so on. But they're making a shit ton of money off of you because they're brokering out your data, right? So
Right.
it's like, and again, it kind of goes to
But
the
even
point I was making earlier.
even the tech
Yeah.
companies though, like you go on Facebook, it provides you with if a lot of people use Facebook a lot and they see a value in it, even though obviously they don't see the how the advertising works and how their money is actually being made just by giving Facebook their data to then sell off to these third parties. I'm even talking about a step higher, like these these big pharma companies, and that are just, I mean, I get where they make their money, but the idea that that's what's seen as what we want to put on a pedestal in the financial world. These companies that basically sell medicine that they create for $5 and they sell it for thousands, meaning that there's tons of people dying from not being able to afford these medicines, or even worse, these financial like companies that basically just deal with digits on a screen, and they make tons of money that way. And they these are the companies I sort of speak to, not even like the Googles and stuff where Apple, Amazon, people use that stuff, they get it. I'm talking about like the companies that like the regular average person is never even going to interact with in their life, yet these are the companies that like are seen as the golden goose in the world of the stock market.
Well, the question is, does it make money,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's just the long and short of it. I remember, and this is how like just unhinged and removed from reality that this conversation is. I remember back during the 2008 financial crisis when I was, I was working in the industry. I was like a fairly young funds salesperson, and I remember watching Jim Cramer because I hated myself, and he was taking audience calls. And keep in mind, this was during the course of the collapse and the auto companies required bailouts. So GM hadn't yet been bailed out at this point that he took this call, but it was very clear that the auto companies were in trouble and could go bankrupt. So this caller calls up the show and was talking about her portfolio, and she said, yeah, and the one thing that I can't understand is, why is it that Goodyear is doing so badly market-wise? I mean, it's got good fundamentals, and I don't see anything like they've reported good earnings, and they've got healthy relationships, and so on. So why is the stock going down? And this fucking schlub had to look into the camera and say, because the auto companies are going bankrupt. if you're not able to sell cars, then where are the tires going to go, right? So like, because people get so laser focused on everything like EBITDA and all this other weird jargon that makes no sense to anybody else, they don't actually live out in the real world. Where they live is in the like entire world of simple profit making, and it's immoral to me. Like it's not, I wouldn't even say like amoral, it's immoral. Like they don't have the same kind of ethics and standards or even humanity that the rest of us do. So if I can see from your point of view why, like, yeah, why is it that these companies that provide me value and make me happy are so hard to invest in, but these other companies that essentially profit off of like human suffering and misery are the market's champions? And I'm saying to you, it's that way because these people don't think the same way that you do. They're immoral people.
Right. Well, thank you for, I guess you're basically saying that I am a very moral person. Uh,
Yes.
so thanks for staying. Do you have a few more minutes? Because I don't want to lose you
Yeah,
without.
I'm not
Perfect.
gonna stick around a bit.
Because I think the we're about to get to it's not the beginning of the story, but to me, it ended up being the takeaway to me, and that's Robinhood, the app that supposedly allows anyone to get into the stock market. Hell, I probably wouldn't have bought those first shares of AMC. First stocks I've ever bought if it wasn't for the ease of Robinhood. There's no fees, no upfront commissions. You just download an app. They even give you a stock for free. It couldn't be any easier.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was very easy to use. But then they basically fucked up what should have been their biggest moment. What happened with Robinhood, and why did it happen?
Repeat the question, because I was about to veer off into some really like technical shit. So would you mind just repeating it?
Yeah, so I
Let me
guess
formulate that one again.
sure. I guess just break down
Yeah.
start out very basic so people get what's going on
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
What did Robinhood do? This app that was supposed, and a lot of these Redditors were buying using Robinhood because a lot of them are retail investors, and so that's the easiest, quickest way to invest in the stock market. What did Robinhood do once GameStop and these other stocks that were being pumped by this Wall Street Bets subreddit, like AMC, and I think Nokia was another one? What did Robinhood do when these stocks started to rise, and why did they do that?
Okay, so I was about to re-explain the short squeeze to you using like technical stuff, and I see that when I bring up stuff like floats and short squeeze and all that shit, your eyes glaze over. So if that's you, I can only imagine what's happening to the audience. But it goes back to what I said before, which is that if the manager of the GameStop, who was like kind of in with you on this whole like trading in and brocketing the difference scenario, wanted to stop you from making yourself look silly, then they would restrict people from buying the game. Now, I can't say that that's what they did, but that's what people are alleging, and that's where the that was sort of like the basis of the class action lawsuit that was launched against them. People saying like, why can't we buy the stock? And I think you have to look at it from from this perspective. If you're not allowed to buy the stock, there's actually no restriction from you selling the stock. Right? Like they said that they're restricting purchases on the stock, but you can sell the stock if you want to. So if the retail investor cannot buy the stock, but they're able to sell the stock, who's buying the stock?
Right.
And they're not able to purchase it on Robinhood and some of these other trading platforms, right? So it's obviously people that have access to purchasing the stock without going through these discount brokerages. And for the most part, that would be the larger investors, perhaps the institutional investors, perhaps even hedge funds that are looking to cover their positions to snap up any available stock that gets sold off by people that are ready to cash out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't say that it's a conspiracy, but it certainly smells really bad, is what I'm trying to say. So why did they do that? Only Robinhood CEO can answer that question. And there have been many business journalists speculating on it, and their speculation is basically, to stop people from making ridiculous bets and to stop market manipulation and so on and so on and so on. And what's really behind that is it protects the position of some of these companies, which again, I said, this industry exists to stop from looking stupid, and they look stupid. So that's the only explanation they can come up with.
So yeah, I think there were even some like smaller Robinhood competitors. There's one like called Webull that basically came out and said it in more upfront terms. Obviously, we can't speculate on what the actual Robinhood reason is, but it seems like it's pretty much the same reason where the brokerage firms that they have deals with to buy the stocks from basically cut them off or limited what they could buy. So I guess let's go a little bit into really quick because you mentioned Citadel before, and that seems to be the company that provides the brokerage firm that provides Robinhood with the stocks to sell to the average retail investor. Do I have that correct?
I mean, yes, one of them. Yeah, that's a purpose that they can serve. Yes.
So so Citadel basically would be the ones to stop Robinhood or limit Robinhood. What would Citadel, now you mentioned so they don't look stupid, but I've seen, again, this is speculation, but I've seen some talk, and this from legitimate journalists too, though, that Citadel had a money gain from doing this as well. Uh,
So it's possible because Citadel, again, remember I mentioned that they're a firm that relies on algorithmic trading.
right.
So what Citadel, they have an arrangement with Robinhood that they can actually get sort of like a sneak peek at market activity. Like they can get a peek at what is happening within Robinhood's ecosystem. Now it's supposedly anonymized and all this other stuff, so I'm not going to speculate too deeply here. But that is to say, they get like a bit of an advanced look at what is happening, and because their machines work in, like I said, fractions of a second, they can snap up returns that are there to be made in a way that normal human beings can't do. Either A, because they have the access, or B, because their supercomputers run extremely fast. So I think that's what that's kind of getting at, is that there may have been like an unethical arrangement between the two, which allowed Citadel to capitalize on these gains.
Now, do you think, because this is where I think this is, this is where the big issue lies, and I think this is, of course, when the SEC looks into this, they're going to be focusing on how. I mean, you already mentioned how they're looking to talk to some of those subredditors on Wall Street, those redditors on Wall Street bets about manipulation via just buying the GameStop stock. I mean, to me, the real issue is if this is accurate. Right here on the Robinhood app, do you think that the limiting of the stock purchases for GameStop, AMC, etc. on Robinhood, I don't want to say caused, but contributed to this decline? It seems pretty rapid too over this week when, since Robinhood started doing this.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't
think so.
No. I think once the short position was closed, I think so. Even though they kept on saying hold the line, like that was like the mantra of this subreddit. I think some people, once they saw that the short position had closed for this company, and actually I'm pretty sure that Melvin Capital had closed out their position before the deadline arrived anyway. But I think that once this company was wounded, some people may have simply said, all right, game's over, time to go, I had my fun. But then it's just clear that this company is not worth $348 a share. Like, why? What? Based on what? Like I hadn't done any fundamental analysis, so maybe I'm completely out of line here. I just don't see what it is that would make this company worth that, like for those outstanding shares to be worth that much money. So it was going to return back to earth at some time. That was always going to happen. I don't know that Robinhood's sort of like pumping the brakes necessarily contributed to that. I don't know if it's like an if A then B kind of scenario. I don't really see the through line. I do think that Robinhood's relationship with Citadel should definitely be called into question. But I think that whether it happened like this week or a week from now or a month from now, it was going to happen anyway. So it was really just a matter of when.
Right. So what do you think the next steps here are? What do you think? Because right now GameStop is, geez, let me even check. Let me open up that app and let's see where it's at actually live right now.
Let's go have a look.
Let's see. Robinhood's opening up on mine because it's still so quick, but I'm probably never going to buy through them again if I ever buy stock again.
We on Quest Trade in these streets. We have Quest Trade up in Canada.
Ooh.
And Wealthsimple. I use both for different reasons, but yeah.
So GameStop is now under 50. It's 49 bucks and change. AMC, I believe, is around $8 right now. I think the high for AMC though was only AMC 7, but I think the high was only like $15 or $16 for AMC, so it's not like anyone lost that much.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, oh my goodness, it's getting ridden into the ground.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the crypto seems to have really taken advantage of what's going on. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and even Dogecoin has
Dogecoin.
Everyone I've heard says Dogecoin. Actually, is it Dogecoin?
Yes, it's Dogecoin. What do you Doge? Okay,
I don't know. That's
is this Renaissance Italy? What are we talking about here?
I've honestly only heard people say Doge. I've heard both, honestly, but mostly.
Okay.
But I think you're probably right, though. It makes more sense, right? Bitcoin, I mean, was when this was all going down, Bitcoin hit, I think, 40K, 40,000 at one point. But
Yeah.
now it's at 37. I mean, crypto seems to have taken advantage of everyone sort of getting pissed off at Robinhood and the stock, all these stock apps for basically blocking them from buying GameStop and AMC. What do you think happens next? I mean, do you both with I guess the main thing that really matters is what do you think? Does anything change regulatory wise? Does the SEC do anything? Does the financial market here change in any way? Do retail investors get fucked even more? Like what goes on next? Other than obviously anyone who bought, I'm sure, like you said, those redditors who bought earlier probably still up money. But if you saw this whole shebang going down last week, last Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and GameStop stock was at like $200-$300, and you were like, I'm jumping in this now, which is why I didn't. I saw that and I was like, no fucking way, I'm buying the cheap AMC shit. I got nothing to lose there. You're out tons of money now. So what do you think is the fallout here? I mean, other than retail and normal Tom and Jane getting fucked over, obviously, once again.
I think what happens next is that there's going to be congressional hearings just to, quote unquote, get to the bottom of all this. And I mean, that's just going to happen, right? The SEC is going to look for evidence of market manipulation, which means that some of the Redditors are going to get pulled up. And even if they haven't done anything wrong, which I don't think they have, probably they're like from the SEC's point of view, we're going to punish them by investigating, and of course, like redditors, like average people, are going to have to hire lawyers. So the punishment is simply the cost of having this interaction with these federal bodies, right? Like that's punishment in and of itself. Whatever comes of this congressional hearing, which is going to be an absolute farce, because we've already seen some of this rhetoric deployed both in business journalism and from political figures, which is just bizarre to me, that this is the behavior of incels. Like, this is an extension of Gamergate. This is just a bunch of like young, angry, disaffected, virginal white men who like ran rampant on the market and ruined everything for regular investors that aren't part of this this Chud brigade, because they're so angry at the world and because they can't get laid or some shit like that. Like this is the narrative that I've seen being carried for the last few days, and I'm looking at it like, am I still living in reality? Like, did I have a bad LSD trip that I've yet to wake up from? Am I currently on life support? What the fuck is going on? So I think the enmeshment of these two narratives is going to turn out something like this. After this farce of a congressional hearing, and after the SEC gets through washing some of these younger investors, then the public appetite for increased legislation will develop. And the legislation is not going to come down on Robinhood or Citadel or Melvin Capital or any of these large and amoral players or immoral players. It's not going to affect them. It's going to affect the regular investor. And people are going to be happy for it. They're going to say, well, whatever new restrictions are applied is to stop these incels and chuds from manipulating the market and screwing me out of my pension money. So why the heck not? So that's, being as cynical as I am, I think that any opportunity to use a disaster for the ruling class against like regular working people, and if you want to talk about whether like Redditors with multi-million dollars to invest or on paper are working class, sure, feel free to have that, but they're definitely not people that work for hedge funds, and they're not sitting in Congress, so we can assume that they're not part of the ruling class. And it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect the way that you're able to participate in the investment. It's going to further restrict. It's probably going to cause you to have to disclose things that you may not have even had to disclose before. It's just going to make life more difficult for the average person that's just trying to get by and participate in what I think is a largely harmless hobby. All they did was simply expose one of the weak flanks of this industry, and I think because of that, Congress is going to end up punishing people.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I completely forgot. I had seen that too, where they were basically they even compared them to like MAGA people, like Trump supporters. Yeah. And it's like, we talked about before how, these guys, you mentioned, obviously these guys in this subreddit, they've got money. So they're not, and their reason for doing this, wasn't as analogous as it is with the righteous protesters of Occupy Wall Street. But when compared to how the media is framing them as gamergaters or Trump supporters, these guys have much more in common with Occupy than they do the Gamergate harassment squad and the Trump racists and white supremacists. I mean, these guys had money, and you could see what they were saying in that subreddit. A lot of these people were talking about how, they saw what happened to their parents during the financial crisis and how much it screwed over their family. And now that they had some money of their own, they wanted to fuck over someone who they considered to be part of the problem, and that's why they did this. I mean, again, not the same as Occupy, but much closer to Occupy than it is to anything on the right end of the spectrum.
Some of the rhetoric that I've been in these forums, and they're not politically correct people by any stretch. They are, they have very chud-like tendencies. They use slurs. They're not nice people. At least from what I've seen. There's a couple of million that have joined the subreddit, maybe even like closer to 3 million that have joined the subreddit since like its popularity exploded. So a good portion of that could just be like, bad actors. And in any sort of environment where there's a lot of people involved, people are going to say really like awful things. But when they say things like, we have to stop the steal, i.e. like, stop the old moderators from stepping into the subreddit and trying to claim credit for it and kicking off the new moderators and stuff like that. It doesn't help. At the same time, I think the people that are accusing them of being an extension of MAGA, the junior coalition partners for the January 6th insurrection and all that stuff, like it's just liberal hysterics. I think it's bullshit, and people should just ignore it, because any time that people who are a part of the state are trying to increase the ability to police people and reduce people's ability to operate freely and just do normal shit like they have been doing for centuries before we decided that every human behavior has to be like policed and locked down. Yeah, like always look at that circumspect, because they have an agenda. Like there is a policy agenda, and there is like an ideological agenda, which to me translates to, we're going to use power to restrict people's ability to do things, and even if it comes with good intentions, it always ends up getting weaponized against like the most marginalized people. So fuck off with that.
Right. Andray Domise, contributing editor at McLean's and host of the Drop Squad podcast. Where can people check out your work and the podcast? Give me some links here.
Oh, yeah. So if you go to McLean's, MACLEANS.ca, you'll find me on their authors page. And if you go to RZNWA, like Romeo, Zulu, November, Whiskey, Alpha, if you go to RZNWA.com, it'll take you to like the page where you can like check out all the podcasts. You can subscribe and so forth. It really helps us out. But or you can just find me. I'm heavy in these Twitter streets, always dunking on fools and promoting the immortal science of Marxism.
Hell yeah. I was telling you before we went live, I was telling you how I name dropped the show, like I plugged the show when I was on the Majority Report earlier today, and I told you, and I thought this was a fun story to share people. I had to figure out how to pronounce your name so I could pronounce it right on the Majority Report earlier today, because I haven't talked to you yet. And I was looking on YouTube. I thought, I'll see how a host of her show you have been on pronounces your name, and lo and behold, who comes and pulls through for me with the correct pronunciation of your name? Michael Brooks. So that was a nice little thing to bring this all together today.
I'll tell you what, like I really miss Michael, and I hope he's listening. One of the reasons I miss Michael is because the first time that I went on his show, he reminded me that it was Jamaican Independence Day, and I was not clear what day it was, and I was like, it's not Jamaican Independence Day, and it turns out it fucking was. So this white boy has one over on me, and he'll have one over on me until I see him in the afterlife, and I don't like that. So Michael, good on you, bro. I hope I see you at some point so we can trade facts, and I can make sure I can one up you next time.
I love that, man. Thanks so much for sharing that. I appreciate you taking the time to explain this all to me today, because I needed someone to break this all down. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too, man. You take it easy.
Take care.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get to. We got a few things I want to do before we get to the stuff, the patron only half of the show. Patreon.com/MattBinder. Let me read a few super chats that just came through. Super Platano Man with a super chat says, "Give a shout to the Bronx. What's up, the Bronx?" I'm not too far from the Bronx. I mean, you all know I'm in Queens, but I'm fairly close to the Bronx. I'm just outside AOC's district, and she's got the Bronx in her district. So I mean, Prairie Fire Kowalski from Nebraska with the little sticker super chat. We got a little pear man handing me a cup of coffee. I loved it. I could use that. Samantha Sider with a super chat. This debacle shows free market isn't rational. Well, there is no free market. I mean, there never has been a free market. I mean, maybe back when like a native person would meet up with another native person and like two tribes would meet and trade items. I guess that would be as close to a free market as you would get. Like meeting at some like trading post. And here I have, this outerwear for the cold weather where you live, and we'll trade for, I don't know, these plants that you grew that only grow where you live, and we'll trade there. Something like that, I guess. I that's the closest I think as what free market when in this country before since the modern era have we had a free market? When is government not had to step in, both in good ways and sometimes in negative ways? I mean, they didn't need to bail out the banks, but they did. But also, they need to regulate companies that shit all over our environment. I mean, there's both ways you have no free market. Because the free market is a fairy tale. Grim wasn't too happy about my Grimlock wasn't too happy about my my description of the Wall Street Bets people. He said they're alt-right 4chan fash, I think is what he said. I mean, it's I'm sure that exists there. But also there was a lot of very legit like left-wing populist rhetoric I also read in some people's stories. I mean, you probably it's not really a political forum, so you do probably have a mashup of all sorts of assholes and legitimate people just looking to invest without taking part in the asshole-ish part of it all. I mean, of course, you also got, like he mentioned, there's people with enough shares to possibly put them on par with a hedge fund. So, of course, you got some rich assholes there, too. I mean, I think it's probably a mix of it all. But the people looking to take down a hedge fund because of what the financial crisis did to their family, and there are stories about a person whose dog needed a surgery, and all they had was $1,000 for this $4,000 surgery. So on a whim, they put $1,000 into it, and was able to cash out and had their $4,000 for their dog's surgery. I mean, seems like pretty awesome scenario to me. King Kai on Periscope says they're not a political forum and tend to downvote politics, but weirdly seemed super into AOC in a positive manner because AOC came out on their side. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, on the Robinhood aspect of it, that was wrong. I mean, obviously, listen, investing in the stock market is not like a leftist ideal. But if we're playing under these rules of the system, then if you're a leftist who wants to invest in the stock market, I mean, it's no different than, to me, owning an iPhone or whatever. I mean, if you're just looking to be like a legitimate, like ethical type person, just investing, whatever, I don't see an issue with that. I mean, in a perfect scenario, the stock market does not exist. This financial system does not exist. But again, like, we don't want to be like the Matt Boers comic where, society should be somewhat better. And then you jump out and go, oh, so you live in a society. How interesting. Oh. I mean, No, Shot Robe on Twitch. He might mean AOC in a bad way. No, Kinkai says, yeah, positive. No, because AOC came out and defended them from what Robinhood did. And to me, that's legit. Like, that's like consumer protection, if you ask me. If a retail app is blocking you from doing something that the big investment firms are still able to do, I mean, it's clearly manipulative. I mean, clearly one-sided there, and she came out for that. Zoe says, "Don't make me tap the Matt Boers comic." Right, exactly. Oh shit! I got the Skype thing up. There we go. Thank you, Daniel. I do that sometimes. I forget to take down the Skype thing. But yeah, I mean, let's go. Let's go into the patron half of the. Moore says, "So I won't face the guillotine for trying to supplement my income through stocks." Listen, again, if you're like just doing this and like, I don't even think, listen, obviously I'm no fan of passive income in a way that fucks over other people. I mean, there's also different types of passive income now based on the wonderful world of the internet. Like you could just set up a fucking website and create a passive income through there where you're not even really screwing anybody over. There's all sorts of most passive incomes. The probably the most popular is being a landlord. I'm not into that. I would not be a landlord. But if you have like a website that like you just set up and like it provides, and you have like some service that you provide, I mean, I don't think that's a bad form of passive income. I mean, it totally depends what it is. Passive income totally has been, I would say, through history, been usually a bad predatory thing, but I think that has changed somewhat. I've heard of people who just like put together a website and like it just happened because of they found like a specific topic that like basically does well in Google with advertisements, but doesn't have a lot of sites talking about it. And so they just put together a site and struck gold with the SEO, and they like the top thing for like just this informative website. Doesn't screw anyone over. They just have a Google advertisements on it, and they like make like a little supplementary income from that. Like I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously, again, in a perfect scenario, the Google people probably have a problem with the Google ad stuff, but in a perfect scenario, we don't have that either, but we do. And if you're telling me you have a website that basically makes money through clicks versus you buying up property and renting it out to people who live paycheck to paycheck, I say make the website over invest in property. Shannon says if it provides a service, it's not passive. But I actually know if, I used to be big into tech startups. I sort of still am, like just as a hobby, just to see what's going on there. And there's like a lot of like techs, like really like they're called like micro SaaS, software as a service. Basically like little web projects that basically make people like 10, 20, 30, 40K a month. And they're usually like these like one or two developer projects. And they basically just sit there and maybe they do like a little bit of like, work on them for a few hours each month, basically to like for upkeep. And they make these people this money for just providing a service. And it's totally passive in terms of they're not logging on and doing work every day on it. That's considered passive though to in that world. That's considered a passive income stream. I actually I'm sort of a domain person. I always if I come up with like a good idea for a domain, I buy one. And I've like I don't like put them on the market, but I've had people contact me and be like, I like your domain for my business or my idea. And I've sold domains. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it's happened. That to me seems fine. You're not like anyone could buy a domain for $7, $8. I'm not taking anything away from you like you do with like physical property. Let's go to the second half of the show, the patron only half. Patreon, and if you're on the live stream, you could stick around. I am leaving the live stream watchers open for the whole show, even the patron only half, for the time being. Eventually that will be shut down too, but for now, if you're not a patron, you could stick around for the second half if you're watching live. Patreon.com/Matt Binder to support this show. The show is not possible without my patron subscribers. I love my patron subscribers for making the show possible. I'll be honest, every now and then I look at the number of patron subscribers I have, just the raw number, and compare it, which is a bad idea, to some other shows, and it's low compared to some other shows, but it's a little bit discouraging. But then I come and do the show, and the patron subscribers jump in the feed, and I remember why I do this show. But of course, I could use more patron subscribers. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. It was the first of the month earlier this week, and as you know, that's when Patreon charges, and we lose subscribers usually then due to financial woes or just credit card issues, declines. And I lost a few patron subscribers. So if you can't afford to do so, patreon.com/Matt Binder. It's a bit of a struggle to manage where the show is at financially, and also where we could be. And I try to make it work, but we're growing, just a slow rate, but we're growing. I will say though, and I didn't really see it with the patrons, but I did see it with YouTube subs, which is good too, because that's another income stream. While we're talking passive income streams, not quite passive, but it's an income stream. YouTube, big bump in YouTube subs with my Boogaloo Boy video. We're now at 12K subs. Again, low compared to others, but much higher than we were at. I can confirm to you all that I am now working on another video in the same vein as the Boogaloo Boy video. When I say in the same vein, I mean the same style. A standalone, journalistic, and entertaining, of course. It's not dry. Standalone piece for YouTube. I guess like a not long form, because some of these long form YouTube essays go on for 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. Something that's going to end up around 15 minutes again. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. And this is on something completely different. This is going to be a video that looks into QAnon and other conspiracy theories, that especially a few that spread over this past year. But I've seen some articles about it, but no real video, and no video that looks into what I'm going to look into specifically. A specific aspect of it that's not been quite covered. Let's just say it has to do with the cops and conspiracy theories. I think you'll all enjoy it. Hopefully it gets as much, if not more, attention as the Boogaloo Boy video. It's not pegged to any sort of YouTube drama like the Boogaloo Boy video is with Jimmy Dore. So maybe, I hope it's not the case where only YouTube drama drives traffic to my stuff. But it's not going to be pegged to anything like that. But I think it'll be eye-opening. And I'm working on it now, and it should be up, I guess. I'm working on some other things too right now. Maybe like a week or two. I'll let you guys know. So look forward to that. Also, you could support the show by obviously subscribing to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Matt Binder. Also, follow me on Twitter at twitch.tv, Instagram at Matt Binder, or just search Matt Binder. I'll come up. I got to figure out to do some Twitch stuff. Like, I know this is simulcast on YouTube, Twitch, and what else? Periscope on Twitter. But maybe I'll do some Twitch stuff soon. But the thing is, my audience is mostly YouTube, so that's where the dilemma is. What's this? I want to read this one because Mist Siren on YouTube says, we knew a lot of background about the people at on January 6th at the Capitol because of Matt B. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope this show is. Vergus says, I'm a proud patron, Matt. I'm selective, but it's the best. Oh, why, thank you. Gary says, I told you to go on Vosh. Well, thank you, Gary. But also, you have to understand, when you say to go on these shows, it's not like I just snap my fingers and go on these shows. Like, Vosh has to invite me on the show. I'll go on any show, I've said before, and I'll have anyone on this show, obviously. Also, if you would like to give a one-off donation to the show, you can do it right now in the super chat on YouTube, youtube.com/MattBinder. Drop a super chat. It's a guaranteed way for me to read your comment on the show, and you can give me a one-off too. What else was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to thank some of my newer patrons by name, because you guys missed out on when I was able to name drop the patrons every single episode. There's just too many people to do that now. So let me name drop some new patrons. Jennifer R., Allison K., G. Miller, Jesus R., Lane C., Paul N., Kevin R., Leah, it looks like, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Leah A., David A., Teresa L., Brian H., Michael G., Simon T., Alex W., Stina G., Cosmic Chode or Chud. I'm sorry if I'm mangling that. Tam, Junior M., Brian K., Robert E., DL, Diane B., Brad G., Corey, Imseti, Civilized Top Hat, DBX. I think that's everyone who I haven't previously already named on prior episodes. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. It really means a lot to me. To be able to get this show to a place where I'd be able to do it as a full-time thing is like a dream. We're far from that, but I won't be able to even get anywhere close to it if it isn't for you guys who join me now and get in early. And I will remember you guys, and I'll be thinking. I'm already putting together some bonuses. I need to get a new logo done for the show, which I'm probably going to do with the latest batch of patron money. And I'm going to use just a broad design for this show, because I've had this one for a while now, and I don't think it accurately reflects the show. It's good, but we need a bigger one, a better one now. And I'm going to do that. And when I do that, I'm going to print up stickers, and you patrons will get those stickers for being patrons for as long as you've been, and no charge. What was I going to say? Yeah. So, let's, what else? Oh, I was looking at the iTunes review page for Doomed. And I noticed, while there's a ton of reviews from since the last time I checked, which has been months ago, there are no reviews yet for the year 2021. So a big help, especially for anyone who is not a patron and can't afford to be a patron right now. I totally get it if you can't. But there's ways to support this show without spending a dime. And my ask this week is going to be that you go to iTunes or the podcast app, whatever Apple uses now, and you type in Doomed with Matt Binder, and you go there, and you leave an iTunes review. It would be fantastic to have more written reviews, so it shows that there's people listening to this show in the year 2021. Star reviews to pump up that 5-star rating. Of course, give it a 5. I'm not going to tell you have to give me a 5-star, but if you think it's worthy of a 5-star review, I appreciate a 5-star review. You may not think it matters, but it actually does. Not just for my own ego, but the iTunes algorithm actually puts shows on the charts based on the reviews they get. And I have seen it happen where I ask you guys for reviews, you give me reviews, there's a little bump in the charts, nothing crazy, but that little bump is all that matters. People discover the show. I see a little bump in the podcast downloads. So doomedpod.com for the podcast. The show is, I don't know what happened. I thought it was on these, but now it's confirmed. The show is now on Spotify for sure. And the show is now on Stitcher for sure. So we are now on iTunes, the podcast app, whatever Apple uses, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, 100% accurate for sure. No more people contacting me saying, hey, I checked and it's not on Spotify right now for some reason. I've fixed whatever issue there was. It is on there now for guaranteed. If there's anywhere else you listen to shows, reach out to me. Let me know. I will fix that. Get it on that platform. The podcast should be everywhere. What else can you do to help out this show? Tell all your friends about it. Tell your relatives about it. Tell your favorite YouTubers, favorite podcasters about it. Tell them you want them on this show. Tell me who you want on this show. And then tell your favorite podcasters and YouTubers or whoever that you want me on their show. You guys make it happen, really. There have been invites I've received based on you guys reaching out to people. That's why I was on Zero Books, because someone or a few people have reached out to them saying, hey, you should really have Matt Binder on. Hell, my own buddy, Michael Brooks, my own good friend who I hosted a show with, sat side by side with him every single day for like 5 years. He invited me on that live Michael Brooks show, which is now almost a year ago. It's going to be a year ago on Sunday, the live Michael Brooks show in Brooklyn that I was on, which was honestly one of the most fun things I've ever done. But he invited me on that specific show because I saw it was happening a couple months earlier, and I was like, could someone please tell Michael I went on? And you guys made it happen. And seriously, if you guys didn't do that, that was the last time I did a broadcast with Michael, and also the last time I saw him in person because of the fucking pandemic. If that didn't happen, I don't know, man. I'm so glad you guys made that happen, honestly. Not to get emotional here, but really. Jeez. Anyway, yeah, that's it for you freebies. I will read the rest of these super chats in the second half of the show. I have some interesting Marjorie Taylor Greene clips to play in the second half of the show. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. If you guys can get me to 200, it's not going to happen now, I'm sure of it, but if I get to like 200 patrons right now, I'd be so pumped because I feel like that's a number where, like, I've noticed this. I was under 10,000 YouTube subs before that Boogaloo Boy video. And it was a back and forth struggle of losing subs and gaining subs and basically just stuck in that area. And then all of a sudden, I pump out that Boogaloo Boy video. I got like 5,000 subscribers in like a day or two. I'm at 12K subscribers now. And I'm noticing every day now, I'm going up by here, 50 subscribers there, 100 subscribers here. On days I'm not even putting content out. There are different numbers on different platforms where you just hit, and like all of a sudden, because people see you're at that number, that they all of a sudden think, oh, you must be someone to follow, or you must be someone that people like. I noticed it on Twitter too. Like I got like 61,000 followers on Twitter, but there was a time where I was like really stuck at like 10K for a while. Then I was like stuck at like mid 20s, and then stuck at like 40K. But like there's different points you hit, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, people on that platform just view you as, oh, this is someone to pay attention to because you're at that sweet spot number, and just all of a sudden the subscribers or follower count just goes up faster. I feel like we're at certain points where it's close there on different platforms. Get me to those points, everybody, and I'll be pumped. So yeah, let's go to the second half of the show. And to everybody else, if you're not a patron or a live stream watcher, I will see you all next time on Doomed. All right, we are back. Hello, everybody, patrons who I love dearly. Thank you for joining me today. Let us now go back to the. Actually, let me actually read these. I don't want to leave these super chats to the end. I want them up front. So I already read the earlier super chats. The shout out to the Bronx. Shout out given from. Who is that? Super Platano Man. Prairie Fire Kowalski gave me a beautiful sticker. Super chat sticker. Samantha with the saying the free market isn't rational. Oh, the debacle of the GameStop stock shows the free market isn't rational, which of course led me to explain how the free market is bullshit. Period. Midnight Pizza Man with a super chat that I haven't read yet. Matt, take this and use it in your journey in becoming a corporate fucking sellout. Well, I mean, by doing this show, it's the very opposite of that. I'm not a corporate fucking sellout by if I'm just beholden to my subscribers and my patrons and my viewers, then I mean, unless one of you is a corporation, then I'm good. I'm good. Samantha says, great interview. Should have put free market in quotes. That's true. Yep. Someone also thanked me. They said, well, also Andray said, great journalism. I can't. Let me see if I can find the. I'm sorry for not pulling it out. There's got to be a way to pull out tweets. Not tweets. Super chats. So. It's probably gone now in the great. Chat room. We get too many chats now, so it just moves too fast and stuff gets pushed out. But someone said, thank you for the journalism. I haven't heard anyone talk about how these hedge funds really benefited from this. There were a few people I saw talk about it, but yeah, not enough people brought it up. I appreciate the kind words. Bodie says, I'll be a Patreon member soon, dude. If you can do it, I thank you. I appreciate it. But again, I really want to stress, times are tough. If you can't do it financially, I totally get it. Take care of yourself first. That's the most important. Someone tweeted at me, and two other people how they were worried they would have to cancel their patronage for these three creators that they subscribe to, me being one of them, and luckily they were able to put together the money to continue being a patron, and I thanked them immensely, and at the same time I had to say, if you can't do it though, please take care of yourself first and foremost. It's super important that you take care of yourself, obviously. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be here to be able to obviously. First of all, I want you to live, obviously, because I care about people, human beings in general. But from a selfish standpoint, even, if something happens to you and you can no longer give me $5 a month, then, I mean, that would be bad. So if you have to stop for a bit, that's okay. Take care of yourself, and then you can come back, and in the end, I'll end up making more because you'll be able to give me $5 for a longer stretch of time because you'll be alive. Vinny Holiday with a $20 super chat. And another thing, if I can't get patrons, if people were dropping $20 super chats like Vinny here regularly, I would do a live stream every single day. And if you guys were making me like a full-time ability to do that, then screw the patron. I would just do super chats every day. And there are people who are making a fucking living off Patreon. Off super chats. Let me tell you, especially the right wingers, because all those platforms that provide them with subscription services like Patreon have given them the boot. But different. But D Live is another one with like YouTube that does like a super chat type thing, and these guys like Nick Fuentes, and Tim Pool, those dudes are making hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars per day off of super chats. If you guys do that for me, then you could have my stream every single day, honestly. Vinny says, have you noticed Brett Weinstein questioning, in quotations, the origins of COVID and whether vaccines are safe or not? I feel like we're not going to see a centrist IDW anti-liberal coalition building. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like we're going to see a centrist IDW anti-liberal coalition building focusing against progressives. Thoughts? Well, I mean, the IDW are right-wingers. They say they're not, but their politics are right-wing in so many aspects. I mean, just because they are more moderate in some areas, I still think they are right. I mean, Dave Rubin is part of the IDW. Dude is a right-winger. Dude's funded by right-wing money. Just because the Weinsteins pretend to be liberals while pushing all the same bullshit that the right does. I mean, IDW is a huge fucking grift. Barry Weiss, Miss Cancel Culture herself. Probably no one has done more to give the right wing the cancel culture talking point than fucking Barry Weiss. And how did Barry Weiss get famous? How did she get her New York Times gig, by the way? She was a college student pushing, firing college professors because of their support for Palestinians. I mean, it's the biggest grift out there. These people are right wingers just because they're a little bit smoother with their rhetoric, and they don't outright say that they believe Muslim people are animals, although some of these IW types do. And just because they don't agree with the open white supremacy, even though they probably believe in the science of race IQ and all that other bullshit, these guys are right wingers. With they're like the Wizard of Oz. They're behind the curtain, exactly who they are. While they put out a totally different brand, a totally different caricature, a totally different personality in person. I'm sorry, the fact these guys are COVID deniers is no surprise. No surprise. Joseph with a $10 super chat. Love you, brother. Here's to making a living from super chats. Thank you, man. It would listen if you and Samantha Sider. She's a regular super chat dropper, I guess you can say. Usually giving me like $2 here and there. I totally love that too. Listen, if you give what you can, and if you can't give any, that's totally cool too. I'm just saying, like a perfect scenario, I'd be able to do more of this stuff and provide you guys with more content. And for those who have the means and enjoy doing the show, you could help make that happen. That's all I'm saying. Luckily enough, right now, I'm not someone who has to make a living from doing this. I have a job, luckily doing this stuff. Writing stuff I enjoy, mostly tech stuff, but it's mostly in the intersection of politics and talking about right-wing misinformation and stuff like that. But, I'd love to be able to focus on like doing it under my own brand and my own name and focusing on some of the, I would love to do more of those Boogaloo Boy videos I did. Like I said, I'm working on one, like I said in the first half of the show, I'm working on one about the police and conspiracy theories in the same vein as that one. And I think you guys will enjoy that. I would love to do that more often. I I don't know if Sam Harris is a COVID denier. Vivo San says Sam Harris is a COVID denier, Mr. Science. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I don't know. He could possibly be someone who, I mean, they're not all COVID deniers. There are some, again, not saying Sam Harris is one of these guys, but there's also a lot of them who believe COVID is a thing, but think that the lockdowns are worse because of hypothetical suicides and drug overdoses due to the lockdowns. Now, is this happening? I mean, possibly. It wouldn't surprise me. Is it a something that is worse than people dying from COVID? I highly doubt that. I don't know if I've seen any sort of science or study behind this saying that the lockdowns have led to an epidemic of drug overdose and suicides. Champagne Kami says, I'm down $3.58 on AMC. Right. Oh, someone in the chat, who was it, said that how Matt sell out? Never. Honestly, I have been very lucky in my career. I have never wanted to work for a big company. I've never wanted to work in a corporate. Like, this comes from just my punk rock upbringing. And I was very lucky. Out of college, I freelanced doing film stuff. Working on sets, PA work, stuff like that. And then after that, I worked for a tech news startup that's no longer that's now defunct. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I sort of like tech startups. They give people a way to work and make a living and doing stuff without working for a big corporation. Obviously, eventually they get bought out or sell out or whatever. But if you get in working when they're still like the startup lifestyle, I don't care about the whole stupid shit you see on TV or they sell where it's like, oh yeah, the fun, games at the off. I don't give a shit about that stuff. It's mainly just, being able to make a decent living without working for a big corporation. To me, that's the big plus for working for a tech startup. And then after that, I worked for Sam Cedar, the Majority Report, as a producer, and I was there for about 5 years. And then I had a kid, and I had to leave that show because it was no longer, I was able to provide a standard of living for a guy living with his also working girlfriend to pay the rent when we're both chipping in. But once I had a kid and my partner's no longer working, unfortunately, Sam couldn't pull that off. So I got really lucky, and a friend of mine who he was former politics editor at Salon, who reached out to me when he was at Salon, asking me to write for them freelance stuff because he enjoyed my work on Twitter. And so I wrote a few stuff for Salon, and then he basically was doing something completely independent. It had backing from a guy who sold his company, but that was basically it in terms of the involvement. It was basically just financing it. Other than that, he basically had a pretty open editorial. It was Cafe, the site. He Blake of Cafe, he was the editor, and he had a pretty open editorial control. He was able to do Carl Diggler with two of the Chapo guys, Felix and Virgil. If that's not editorial control, I don't know what is. We were able to do really cool stuff at Cafe, but then eventually that changed, and I left there. And I got a job at Mashable. And Mashable is honestly the first big company I worked for because they are a Ziff Davis company, but still compared to other big companies, Ziff Davis is just a big publisher. They're not like some evil corporation that has they're on the side also making all their money from Monsanto type stuff or some shit. No, they just have they have like they publish they have different websites that they publish. So I've been very lucky where I've been able to get away from working for to make a living without working for big bad companies. Other people aren't that lucky. And I've a little bit of props to me for seeking these companies out because, my punk rock upbringing made me steadfast in doing that. I've been lucky to be able to hold out until one of these companies come along. More super chats. Lori says, I enjoy when you encourage and give tech advice to people who wish to create their own content. Great Yogi Bear / Bernie impression, too. Oh, thank you. Oh, wait, that was a little bit of Obama. What was that? Oh, that was not good. I don't know why I got Obama voice on the mind right now. I can't not do Obama voice. What's going on here? I'll try to come back around to the Bernie voice. I don't got it in me right now. Slice Keeper with a $20 super chat. You're too kind again. Jeez. Vinny and Slice Keeper both with the $20 super chats. Slice Keeper says, I value this show. This is crypto gain money because of Wall Street bets. Oh, wow. Why, thank you. And congrats on the gains, buddy. I should have got into Dogecoin. I don't want to invest now because it was approaching 5 cents before. And that seems high. I know you're probably thinking, but Doge was under a penny not too long ago, just like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it'll drop back to under a penny, but I'm not getting in at 5 cents. I don't know where Doge is going, but when it drops more, I'll probably get into that. Solar Winds says, $5 super chat. Shout out to Cyber Demon 531, lefty YouTuber who was recently demonetized. She is on Twitter as Andrea of the anti-fascist variety. Why does that name sound familiar to me? Cyber Demon 531. I think I might have come across some of her videos before. The name sounds familiar to me. Listen, I've been demonetized by YouTube. It's not fun. I don't know what their criteria is for demonetizing. Especially when they tie super chats to it. Listen, I get that, and people have to understand. I get this part of it. Doing a politics show, there is going to be a lot of advertisers who just don't want to advertise on these programs. I get it. I mean, I think YouTube should let the advertisers decide that. But that aside, I get that aspect of it. So I get if YouTube just for sake of ease doesn't want to run advertisements on political content. It sucks. They should care about political creators just as much as all the other creators and give advertisers the tools to advertise or not advertise on political shows. But I understand it. But they should not tie super chat eligibility to monetization. Because political shows can make a living or at least make a decent side income based on super chats. And super chats should have no correlation to advertisers and their ability to show ads on your show. You don't want advertisers to advertise on this show? I get it. Again, the advertisers should decide, but I get it. But don't tie that to the super chats. There's no good reason for that. Because to me, that's the biggest issue. When I got demonetized, I didn't really care about the advertisements. I probably make, I think I made on that Boogaloo Boy video, I made $15 because there's no super chats there because it was an uploaded video, not a live stream. I think I made $15 off that video. That's like what? An hour minimum wage in New York City. I spent a fuckload more time than an hour on that video. Um, that's like, I'm not complaining about making $15 on it, but that's all I made on it. That means nothing to me. In the broader picture, I mean, again, I could use the $15. I don't mean the money means nothing. I mean, losing the $15 compared to the super chat means nothing. This show right now, I had 2 people just give me $20. I've already made more money off of this live stream than the hours I spent more on that video. And I spent more time on that video than I'll end up spending on this live stream. Even if, in my own Matt Binder fashion, I end up spending 3.5 hours doing this live stream. It'll probably be a little bit shorter today, but I mean, we're already at the 2-hour mark. I've already made more money on an hourly basis doing this live stream, even if it goes to 3 hours, than I did on that Boogaloo Boy video. Super chats are a huge monetization source for politics shows. In fact, if I was making this type of money every day on a stream, if I could guarantee that, need to get, I think you could guarantee it once you have a bigger subscriber base, honestly. If I could guarantee that money every day, then I would do this show every day. Because it would be able to replace other work I do. It's ridiculous to tie super chats to monetization. And I'm sure CyberDemon531, that's her biggest issue. She, without a doubt, will lose live stream revenue. Even if even if someone throws her $20 for one live stream, and that's all she makes, that's probably more than she'll make on videos via advertisements. It just should not be done that way. Cultural Cypher says, peace, bro. Matt, did you get my email last week? With the $5 super chat, by the way. Peace, bro. Matt, did you get my email last week after my call-in? Just making sure it went through. I don't recall if I got your email. Bump it just in case. Send me another email. I might have seen it and forgot it, or it got lost in other emails, or I might not have seen it. I need to get a better email system, honestly. I need to give you guys a more open... I should just make a contact form. That'd be the best thing, I think, for you guys. A form at a web address where you can easily contact me. No need to remember an email address or anything like that. Just an easy link I could put on every description, every episode for the podcast, for the YouTube live stream. Easy contact. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up a contact form. I forgot to call. I'll give another reminder to patrons. If you or someone you know has been affected by QAnon, from family members getting involved, friends getting involved, reach out to me, especially if you would like to talk or would be willing to talk on camera. This is not a live stream thing. This is not to promote or this is a thing I'm working on in the back. It's very preliminary right now. I've talked to a few people. A thing I'm working on QAnon and how it's affected people in very real ways in the real world. It's a very serious, entertaining way too, so people are drawn in, but a very serious look at how this is ruin people, because I don't think people understand the full effects of this. They see the Q shaman storming the Capitol. They hear Marjorie Taylor Greene espouse Jewish space lasers. They hear all this bullshit, and they think it's some crazy conspiratorial talk, and just without realizing the very real ways it's affected very real people. And I want to put a spotlight on that because I think it's important. And if you'd like to help do that and take part in that, reach out to me. DM me on Twitter. Email me, matt@mattx.com, and I'll get that form up so it's a very easy way to reach out to me without remembering any of that stuff. Also, I should get an easier email address for you guys. That's just been like my email address I've used for everything. I should get a show email. Let's go to, what was I going to do? I can't remember what I was going to do. The Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff. Right. Let me pull that up. La di da di da 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 da. So, let me get to this first. Let's get this out of the way. This is a video I wanted to play. I played it in the Majority Report when I was on there earlier today, but I wanted to play it for you guys too, because it's important. Speaking about QAnon, so C-SPAN had a caller earlier today, and let me just say, it did not go the ways I guess C-SPAN calls usually go. Let's play this clip. Would help if I put the sound up. Here we go. Why is the picture-in-picture not working correctly? Oh, there we go. There I am. And why is I'm just floating here. Much better. Here we go.
John is in Wilmington, Delaware, Republican. John, what are your thoughts?
Well, I support President Trump. I think he's got to get back in there in that White House, and he can't get people like Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office. We need women like her in there. Otherwise, these Democrats are going to keep eating the babies and cutting faces off of them. We need President Trump. We elected him, and it's time to get back in there and do his job.
John, what do you think about members who voted against President Trump when it came to that impeachment vote on the House floor, and none bigger than the third Republican in the leadership of the House? That would be Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Well, I don't know much about her. I think her father was a little bit better than her.
All right. Well, listen. This guy, what's his? Who's the host here? I don't even know. I remember someone on Majority Report mentioned it. But listen, if you're hosting a show and someone calls in and starts talking about QAnon conspiracies, in this case, Democrats eating babies and cutting the faces off of them, you should probably address it. Don't just move on and talk about and ask for their opinion on Liz Cheney or whatever bullshit. Address it. Say, that's a thing not happening. That's not true. Democrats are not cooking up babies, eating them, and cutting the faces off of them. Let's do a little bit better than that, please. Just a little bit better than that, all right? Let's do a little bit better than that. Please. Please. God. Come on. Listen, I get it. C-SPAN does great work. No doubt about it. And I'm sure this guy was just caught off guard. But just get it in your head. Someone calls in, it should be like it should be instinct. Someone brings up something that's demonstrably false, I should say. Like you just know off the top of your head that's not something that happens. Say that. Don't let them drop that ridiculous theory and just continue on and never address it. Please. 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 All right. Well, before I get to Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff, let's have a little fun here. It's time for a soda minute with Matt Binder. So, I've run out of Coca-Cola, my usual drink of choice. And so I'm pulling up, and I've done this before on the show. We've talked about some fun, unique drinks. You guys know I'm a soda buff. So today, what I'm moving on to now, because I've run out of Coke completely, I'm going with the old, I don't even know how to say this. You guys ever try this? The Winter Saga. It's the IKEA Swedish style festive drink, carbonated malt and hops flavored beverage. This shit is delicious. I don't think there's any caffeine in it, which will be a problem for me because I very much need caffeine right now. But it's delicious, and I don't have any more Coke, so here we go. You hear that? Hear that? Here we go. Opening up this Winter Saga. This is a delicious Swedish drink. I don't know how legit it is. I probably should have asked Emma Vigland on the Majority Report today. Actually, I bought the wrong drink. This is not what I thought it was. I thought this was the berry drink that IKEA makes. The fucking Oh my, this is legit right now. This is happening on air. I didn't plan this. Isn't a joke. I thought this was that delicious IKEA berry drink. That Swedish berry that's delicious. This is some terrible malt shit. What did I buy? This is horrible. This is not good at all. What did I do? You guys know what I'm talking about? There's like that berry drink. It's delicious at IKEA. This is... That's, yeah. Oh, Vivo Sens points out that, isn't Emma, Norwegian? I think she's Finnish or whatever people from The point is she's Nordic. She's got a Viking hat on. This is... Yeah, someone mentions I'm drinking near beer. Right. I'm drinking beer without the alcohol. Which, and I don't drink alcohol because I'm straight edge. So, a plus for me for not accidentally drinking an alcoholic beverage. But, negative for me because the beer tastes horrible. The whole point of drinking beer is to get drunk. Yeah, lingonberry, thank you. Thank you, Zoe and Jackson. Lingonberry. Lingonberry is fantastic. I love it. And I didn't see the name. I didn't look. I just saw the IKEA logo last time I was at IKEA. I saw a festive drink. And I just thought, oh, it's got to be the lingonberry. Grimm mentioned that it's near beer, right? Oh. What have I done? And that's what I got for today. That's my drink for today. Because I'm all out of Coke. I was like, oh, I didn't get a chance to go out to the store and buy a bottle of Pepsi or Coca-Cola. No big deal. I go out tomorrow. I got the IKEA drink that I love in the fridge. Nope. Big mistake. Big mistake. Batcha says, where is Frozen from? I don't know. Where is Frozen, the Frozen movie? It's about Frozen, right? I will say this. I know that in Epcot, they have Norway in Epcot. And there's a Frozen ride in the Norway section of Epcot. So I'm going to assume Frozen is a Norway, based in Norway. It's a Norwegian thing. I could be wrong, though. Melon says, how is he still drinking it? Honestly, I'm still drinking it because at the end of the day, I'm still a carbonated beverage man. And I need my carbonated drink. And this is all I got right now, unfortunately. Someone said, it's gone now, but someone said this should be a regular segment. Midnight Pizza Man follows that up with, we need more Matt trying bad soda content. Here's the thing, though. There's very few sodas I don't like. In fact, I could give you this one and Tab. Have you guys ever tried Tab? You look at the can and it's like it's pink. It's a pink soda can. Must taste delicious, right? It must have some like wild berry fruit flavoring or something in your soda, right? No? Tastes like shit. Tab is one of the worst sodas I've ever had. The worst. All other sodas, Pepsi, Coke, cherry Coke, vanilla Coke, whatever, Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb, the cream sodas, various cream sodas. I've had like cream cherry sodas, the Stewart sodas. Those are good. Not a big root beer guy, but it's not. It's just not my thing. It's not bad, but it's not my thing. I've had the Jamaican soda. What do they call? It's got like a pineapple-esque flavoring to it. That's a good one. Inca Cola from Peru, fantastic. I love that one. I'm having like a mental block right now. What other sodas have I tried? I've had a number of different sodas. I've had like novelty sodas that like marshmallow, good. Honestly, very few sodas I don't like. S Detect says Tab is dead, isn't it? I'm not sure. Is it? It's so bad though. It's so bad. If you ever find bacon soda, don't try it. It's awful, says Moore. Bacon soda. I gotta try that. I've had, the orange sodas, the 7-Ups, the Sprites, the ginger ales, the Mountain Dew. Ooh, the special Mountain Dew flavor at Taco Bell, Baja Blast, is one of the best sodas. I love it. It's so good. Baja Blast is the shit. Here's one I don't think I'd like. Brody Man says butterscotch soda is amazing. I don't think I'd like that one. I don't know if I'd like that one. Curry soda. There's curry soda, says Midnight Pizza Man. Is there curry soda? Really? Curry? That's what I want to try. I love curry. Yeah. RWS says, Baja Blast. It is just, geez, so good, Baja Blast. That might be my favorite of the specialties, like the non-traditional soda flavors. I gotta like get a lineup of. I need them in front of me so I can tell you guys what I've tried and what I haven't. I've got more specialty sodas in the fridge. I'll do this next week too, and then I gotta eventually in like a couple weeks gotta restock my specialty soda stock. Oh, you guys remember? I totally forgot I did this. I drank my 10-year-old Diet Fago sodas on the stream a couple weeks ago. You guys remember that? That was fun. Right. I was wondering what you meant by I have to drink more bad sodas because I couldn't remember the last time what the last one was. Because all I kept thinking was when I told you guys about my Jolt Cola, which by the way is still in the fridge. I need the last of the Jolt Colas. I totally forgot about the Fago thing. So bad. Anyway. Back to the super chats. Samantha says, look into Nazi-themed crypto. Stormgain. It uses the SS logo. That sounds very familiar. I'm not sure. But let me pull up the episode. I think it was discussed. That name sounds, maybe the name was dropped, maybe the name wasn't dropped, but it was discussed, I'm pretty sure. And in the last episode of 2020 that I had with a guest, Emmy Bevensey, right? We talked about how white supremacists were using cryptocurrency. In broader sense, how they were using peer-to-peer technology. I should have Emmy back on to talk more about the crypto stuff, period. But right. I'll look more into Stormgain. Um, let's go to the. Oh, no, let's talk about these Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff, and then I think that's the show, right? Um. Oh wait, where's your super chat? Did I miss your super chat? Where's your super chat, Anastasia? I don't see it. Did I not read it? Oh. Sorry, didn't see it somehow. Is this you, Paradise? Sorry about that. Um, Matt, have you seen the Sarah Palin cameo made to Sam Cedar and Jimmy Dore about Brie? Was that a cameo someone made? I had seen that and I wasn't sure what the hell people were talking about. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched like a couple seconds of it. And I was like, "Wait, what's going on here?" I was so confused. I gotta watch that now. I didn't know it was a cameo. Oh, Samantha says they ran an advertisement talking about Stormgain. They ran an advertisement with a soccer club called the SS Lazio that uses the Nazi eagle as well. Oh well, that's no good. Oh, but now I want to watch that Sarah Palin thing. Does someone want to send that to me on Twitter? I could play it right now on the feed here. If you guys want to, if someone wants to send it to me. Someone tweeted at me. I don't even know where to look for that. I mean, I'm sure if I took a minute on Google, I'd probably find it. But quick, someone send it to me. Let's go to the. Why do I keep saying let's go to the? Let's talk about the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing really fast. Sam says, "Did I miss Andray? You did, but you could rewind. You could rewind. The show is rewindable. I totally get if you're here for Andray. I know there's people who come here just for the guests. That's totally cool. That's why I have these guests on. You can rewind right now too. You don't even got to wait for the show to be over. You could rewind right now in the stream. Sam Cedar quote tweeted it. That was a while back though, wasn't it? But Sam doesn't tweet that much, so you're right. In essence, I should be able to find Sam quote tweeting the Palin thing, shouldn't I? Come on, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? All right, fuck it. Can't find it. But I did see this in Sam's chat, and I forgot to pull the clip, but I want to pull it now. Give me a split second here to pull this clip because it is fantastic. And I want to play it for you guys. I'm sure you've seen it already, but it'd be fun to play it on the feed. And maybe some of you haven't seen it already. So here is Mike Lindell, right? That's his name. The My Pillow guy. on Newsmax. And they had him on to talk about how both he and the MyPillow official Twitter account got banned because he used both accounts to spread conspiracy theories about the election results on Twitter. And they got banned, and Newsmax had him on to talk about it. But instead, he started ranting and raving more about the conspiracy theories about the election. And this is what happened with the Newsmax hosts when he did that.
So what happened? What happened with your Twitter account and the company page?
Well, first mine was taken down because we have all the election fraud with these Dominion machines. We have 100% proof. And then when they took it down about 3 weeks ago, and then when I put it back up, my personal, it was a
Mike, thank you very much. Mike, you're talking about machines that we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. We just want to let people know that there's nothing substantive that we've seen. And let me read you something there. While there were some clear evidence of some cases of vote fraud and election irregularities, the election results in every state were certified, and Newsmax accepts the results as legal and final. The courts have also supported that view. So we wanted to talk to you about canceling culture, if you will. We don't want to relitigate the allegations that you're making, Mike, because we understand where you are. So let me ask you this. Do you think that this should be temporary because it appears to be permanent? Could you make an argument that it is temporary?
What?
Could you make an argument that this could be a temporary banning rather than permanent?
No, I want it to be a permanent because you know what? They did this because I'm revealing all the evidence on Friday of all the election fraud with these machines. So I'm sorry if you think it's not
Mike,
it's real.
Can I ask our producers, can we get out of here, please? I don't want to have to keep going over this.
Actually,
we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those allegations that you're...
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening overall in terms of censorship.
And walked out.
Trying to cancel out my company and myself. In this country, it's cancel culture.
Now, if you're wondering what's going on here, why this Newsmax guy gets up and leaves, it's not because Newsmax suddenly got a sense of journalistic commitment to its viewers where they need to bring them the facts. No, the thing is, the reason they're so adamant about not letting Mike Lindell of the MyPillow company go off on these pro-Trump election fraud conspiracy theories is because the company that runs the voting machines, Dominion, has gone after all these people spreading lies about them for a lot of money. And part of these different settlements and part of these different outcomes from these lawsuits that Dominion has filed against these companies, Newsmax is one of them, is that they have to deny this stuff. They have to stop spreading this stuff. Which is why that Newsmax host had that very well prepared speech. Like, you could tell it's something that he was reading that wasn't off the top of his head. He needed to outline. You could tell it was legal speak too. Like the Newsmax lawyers team got together and wrote this out for them. If anyone ever brings up this shit, you gotta interrupt them, break through to them. They have to stop this and read this to cover us legally. Otherwise, our ass is out a lot of money. And he just wouldn't Mike Lindell wouldn't shut up about the election fraud and stuff. It is, this is what they've created here. This is what Newsmax is, right? I mean, you had Greg Kelly, the most popular Newsmax host. He tweeted out how the Myanmar coup had to end right away. Had to end now, I think he said. And just later that day, he then goes ahead and tweets out Where is this? He tweets out not long after that, based on new information, I'm undecided on the Myanmar situation developing. And the reason he went from coup very bad to, I don't know about the coup, could the coup be good? Maybe it is because the Newsmax audience is very much into QAnon as well. And QAnon is very big into coups nowadays because they believe that a military coup is coming to save them from President Joe Biden and the Democrats. They are looking at the situation in Myanmar. You can see this online with what they're saying online. And they are jealous. They are begging for a military coup in the United States. Insane as it sounds, they're dreaming of a military coup, just like the one in Myanmar. So, this is who Newsmax has created as their audience, and now this is what they got to do. They got to scream and shout over their guests spreading conspiracy theories that they themselves were sharing not long ago, just so they don't get sued, but also run a very fine line to keep their QAnon audience happy. And now, okay, thank you to everyone who sent me that Sarah Palin clip. Let's watch Sarah Palin's cameo, where someone apparently paid money to Sarah Palin for this clip about Jimmy Dore, Sam Cedar, and Brianna Gray, Joy Gray. I believe that's what this is.
Okay, look. Oh, first, this is Sarah Palin up in Alaska. Look, Sam, Jim.
I love how she says Sam. Sam.
Look, Sam.
I could just play that all day.
Sam.
Oh my God.
Look, Sam.
I could just keep
Sam, Jim, this war over cheese. I'm glad we know how to pick our battles. Y'all fighting over brie? Baked brie is the best, with like cranberries on the bottom and a pastry shell. But I digress. Look, Sam, you being the cheesemonger that you are in Brooklyn. Now you know everything about cheese, and yet you say that brie isn't worth consuming. Okay, and yet, other side, there's Jim. He loves it. Can't live without it. God. Leave it alone, you guys. Leave it alone. Brie is fine. Really, it's fine to like. If you're like Jim and have zero sophisticated tastes. Yeah. Hey, you guys, Happy New Year. You guys, keep on picking those battles. My best to you. Oh,
that's so funny. Oh, that is really Sam is a. I just got to hear her say Sam again. I'm sorry. Give me a second here.
Okay, look. Oh, first, this is Sarah Palin up in Alaska. Look, Sam.
If Sam hasn't clipped that specific delivery of his name from Sarah Palin and put it on the soundboard, I don't know what he's waiting for. If she's, oh my God, it's
Sam. Look, Sam.
That's the funniest part to me. Sam. Oh man. Well done to whoever did that. Well done to whoever did that. All right. Gonna read these super chats. Actually, all right. Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then these super chats to give people time if they want to drop one last super chat for the show. And then that's the show for today, folks. Ooh, look at all these DMs I got from people sending me the. I got more DMs about the Sarah Palin video than I've received for a lot of other stuff. What's this? What is this? All right. So where was I? All right. So today was the big day for for Marjorie Taylor Greene to well, I guess the best way you could put it is well, look, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Marjorie Taylor Greene, by a House vote in which 11 Republicans actually crossed over and voted with the Democrats, one more than the number of Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump, actually. I believe it was a total of 230 Congress members in the House voted to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene from her House committees as the consequence, excuse me, to her spreading conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theories she spread range from 9/11 trutherism to school shootings being staged. She's called for various members of her own colleagues now to be hanged for treason. I believe it was, who is it? Steny Hoyer, actually, surprisingly. I mean, listen, I don't agree with the guy on a lot of things. He's certainly not my favorite politician by far. He's, but he had a speech where he came to the defense of Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC. And it's quite the good speech if you want to go check it out. I didn't pull that one, but it's he really defends them in quite a nice way. And he uses, there's basically a photo that she used to promote herself, Marjorie Taylor Greene, where it shows a picture of the three of them, and she's holding an AR-15 rifle in front of them, and she calls herself the squad's worst nightmare. I mean, kind of dangerous rhetoric to use in these times, especially. But she is one of two Congress people that we know of that pushed QAnon conspiracy theories. The other one is Lauren Boebert, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is well beyond even Boebert. She is a hardcore, or she claims she was a hardcore QAnon fanatic. So much so that she wasn't just one of those people just spreading stuff that she read. She was in contact with a number of QAnon influencers, and I would argue that at one point she was a QAnon influencer herself. These are the people that actually create the messaging of the day. Like, their interpretations of the Q drops and the various conspiracy theories out there influences what the mass QAnon believing hordes run with. Like, they like the mass QAnon believer population looks to these QAnon influencers to basically understand what these conspiracy theories are, what these new conspiracy theories are going to be, what Q's drops mean. So they voted to remove her from her House committees. But before that, she had a speech, a 10-minute long speech, and I saw some outlets sort of classifying this as like her walking back, if not outright apologizing for her beliefs. But she didn't do that. It's just not correct. She spent the 10 minutes before this vote in her speech on the House floor. You think it would be to denounce the conspiracy theories, say she was wrong, seek forgiveness, apologize. I mean, even if she did that, I wouldn't quite believe her. She was spreading QAnon conspiracy theories for a long time, and even just in December of 2020, shared an article that talked positively about QAnon, and she was happy to see something written positive about QAnon, she said when she shared it. And by the way, the article was written by the CEO of the white supremacist social media website, Gab. I pulled some, I'm not going to play the whole 10-minute speech, but I pulled some clips that I thought were noteworthy. And I want to discuss them with you here. So let's play this first clip now. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene before she loses her seat on before the vote to remove her from the House committees.
These things bothered me deeply, and I realized just watching CNN or Fox News, I may not find the truth. And so what I did is I started looking up things on the internet, asking questions like most people do every day. Use Google. And I stumbled across something, and this was at the end of 2017, called QAnon. Well, these posts were mainly about this Russian collusion information. A lot of it was some of what I would see on the news at night. And I got very interested in it. So I posted about it on Facebook. I read about it. I talked about it. I asked questions about it. And then more information came from it. But you see, here's the problem. Throughout 2018, because I was upset about things and didn't trust the government really, because the people here weren't doing the things that I thought they should be doing for us, the things that I just told you I cared about. And I want you to know, a lot of Americans don't trust our government, and that's sad. The problem with that is, though, is I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and I was...
Look how she's... Well, I mean, first of all, that tells you a lot about how she got into these conspiracy theories, but also not the whole story. She fell in deep right away. She had previously talked about... watching videos from Liz Crokin. She's a longtime conspiracy theorist. She was a major Pizzagate pusher. She was in that QAnon documentary that dropped early last year during the pandemic's earliest days, Out of the Shadows. That, by the way, you could go back in the Doomed feed or the YouTube live stream library and watch that movie with me and Jared Holt. We did a live watch of that QAnon movie. But listen to what she says here.
I want you to know, a lot of Americans don't trust our government, and that's sad. The problem with that is, though, is I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and I would ask questions.
I was allowed to believe things that weren't true. What a distortion of what word salad to try to distance yourself from just saying, from just taking responsibility, really. I mean, at the end of the day, you are responsible for what you put out there, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You were allowed to believe things that... Who allowed you to believe things that weren't true? What weird backwards talk there. Let me rewind it a little bit and let's keep going.
Is I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and I would ask questions about them and talk about them. And that is absolutely what I regret.
She regrets being allowed to believe things and asking questions and talking about them. She doesn't regret spreading the conspiracy theories, the harmful conspiracy theories. She doesn't regret saying honestly despicable things about human beings. She regrets, like, listen to how she's putting this.
As if it weren't for the Facebook, absolutely what I regret. Because if it weren't for the Facebook post and comments that I liked in 2018, I wouldn't be standing here today, and you couldn't point a finger and accuse me of anything wrong. Because I've lived a very good life that I'm proud of, my family's proud of, my husband's proud of, my children are proud of, and that's what my district elected me for.
if it wasn't for the Facebook posts and things I liked, this would never happen. She thinks the problem is that she got caught doing this because she put it out on social media. I mean, she's blaming Facebook, which, let me tell you, I agree, actually. Not the same. No, I don't agree with her because that's not what she's saying. But Facebook does have a large role to play in all this. Same with Google, YouTube, Twitter. They let this stuff fester out there. And listen, we could discuss deplatforming and whether people should share this stuff on there. Fine. You want to give them... I'm not even against that in general. I mean, I don't care that they get removed. In fact, I think it's a net benefit they get removed. But I'm not against the argument either. I don't advocate for them to get removed either. But they promoted this stuff. They pushed this stuff. They let the algorithm pump this up in people's feeds. If this stuff was just out there on their platforms, getting lost in all the other muck that's out there, fine, whatever. But these platforms pushed this stuff to the top, to the point where there were hundreds of thousands of members in various Facebook QAnon groups. That wouldn't have happened on its own. But anyway, that's not what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. I want to be distinct there. She doesn't apologize for anything. She doesn't regret what she said. She regrets that someone or something else made her believe in this stuff and that she got caught sharing it on social media. I mean, be clear to what she's saying here. And let's go to this clip now. I have another Marjorie Taylor Greene clip from earlier today. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene not apologizing, setting the record straight, I should say, on some stuff. Or at least that's what she says she's doing.
I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember.
Well, that's quite the... this was right after she said that school shootings are real. Because, again, she previously said that the Parkland shooting in 2018 was staged. Let's play this from the beginning again. What a phrase, though. I also believe that 9/11 happened.
I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember that day crying all day long watching it on the news. And it's a tragedy for anyone to say it didn't happen. And so that I definitely want to tell you, I do not believe that it's fake.
But she's not apologizing or setting the record straight for what she's actually said. Marjorie Taylor Greene never said that 9/11 didn't happen. No, I've never seen anyone doubt her say that 9/11 happened. She's just taking what she thinks she has to say and she's just saying it. I believe that. She's not even apologizing. She says she regret. Let's re-listen to exactly what she says.
I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember that day crying all day long watching it on the news. And it's a tragedy for anyone to say it didn't happen. And so that I definitely want to tell you, I do not believe that it's fake.
See, no apology, no regret. She just says, I want to tell you I don't believe 9/11 was fake. But she's not denouncing what she's actually said before. She's not apologizing for it. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene never said 9/11 was fake. She said this.
But we had witnessed 9/11, right? We had witnessed 9/11, the terrorist attack in New York, and the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, and the so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into the 9/11 conspiracy.
Do you understand what the difference is here? She's setting the record straight, apparently, for something she's never said. What she needed to go out and do and say is, I apologize for saying that a plane never actually crashed into the Pentagon. And that was staged or manufactured or whatever the fuck she believes happened to the Pentagon on 9/11. But she didn't say that. Instead, she just said something that she never said otherwise. Because she doesn't regret what she did. She doesn't apologize for what she did. And she very likely still fucking believes that a plane didn't actually crash into the Pentagon on 9/11. I mean, there was no denunciation, no taking responsibility for what she said. I mean, she hasn't learned anything. And she was out earlier fundraising via email. And in her email, she claims that AOC once said, go out there and punch cops or something like that. AOC's never said that. This woman has learned nothing. Taking her off these committees has done nothing to her. She's fundraising off of this shit. She honestly does not belong there in Congress. She's unserious. She's a joke. I mean, all Congress is a joke in some fashion. Especially when you hear what some of our other congressional leaders believe and think and advocate for. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is so over the top. It's ludicrous, honestly, that this person, this, might I add, highly educated, rich woman. She's a college graduate with an engineering degree. She was gifted her father's successful construction company, which she runs to this day. She donated, I think it was nearly $1 million to her campaign. Just under half of that came from PPP loans from the government. This woman's a grifter. She's a conspiracy theorist. I have been talking about her since last summer. People have just apparently woken up to her in January of 2021. There's been some journalists out there, especially local journalists in Georgia, talking about her since 2018, 2019. Start paying attention to these people. The idea that QAnon is some sort of, and this is a super classist take that people have, that QAnon is some sort of like uneducated, backwoods, hillbilly masses. No. QAnon is lawyers, Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. QAnon is successful financial people. The guy who worked for, I think it was Goldman Sachs, running one of the biggest QAnon sites, living in New Jersey. QAnon is PhD doctors. You have doctors out there with PhDs talking about how COVID isn't real and the demon seeds and shit like that. Remember Trump's doctor? This is the conspiracy theory for the well-to-do, petty bourgeoisie boomer class. And not just boomers, all ages, but as you can see, there's some various comfortable... Marjorie Taylor Greene's a Gen Xer, right? But that's what this is. And I don't think people have, I've done so many shows on QAnon on this podcast. And people really need to get a hold of what this is and who these people are. Lori with a super chat says, reach out to CyberDemon531. She'd love to talk about QAnon with you. Oh, it sounds great. I'll reach out to CyberDemon531. Let me write it down. Who else? Megan-tastic with a super chat. I'm starting from the beginning, so hello from the past. I hope you have Andray on again. Thanks for Doomed. Oh, great. Thank you for listening. Philip with a super chat. MTG is the new right-wing frontrunner. Right. TJ in the super chat says, Q are our kids' teachers. Fucking wild. Right. One of those Capitol people who storm in the Capitol on January 6th, who's been arrested. She was a school teacher for children, young children. And she lost her job over this. And she was holding a sign about saving our children, the QAnon conspiracy theory. Ojneo says QAnon International too now. It's been international for a while now, yeah. Also, Ojneo points out she raised like $250,000 a few days ago, right? Talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? People, again with the great comment. People love making their hard dumb cult jokes, right? I mean, listen, there's without a doubt some facets of QAnon that is laugh out loud funny, but you need to understand what's really there behind it and then you can laugh because you understand it at those very specific things. But overall, it is fucking sad and depressing and hopeless, honestly. And I think I've mentioned this before. I don't remember if it was on this show or the Majority Report, but this really is different in a lot of ways. You have mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, aunts, uncles, grandparents, best friends, whatever, just falling for this shit, and you lose them over it. You know, there's not that many other right-wing movements where this many people just fall into it like that, like willy-nilly like that. You know, like people lose family members to white supremacist groups, sure. But those people are usually indoctrinated really far deep into it, like QAnon. I've seen people just very basic stuff, just read into it and they're gone. That's it. They're down in the rabbit hole, and that's it. All right, guys. That's the show for today. Once again, I did it, didn't I? Almost 3 hours long. Last week, I think it was like 3.5 hours. Jeez. But that's the show for today. Yeah. Thank you to my patrons. And if you're listening to this and are not a patron, patreon.com/MattBinder. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/MattBinder. Matt Binder pretty much on every platform. Look it up. You'll find me. All right, everybody. Again, reach out to me if you are interested in talking to me about the QAnon project I'm working on. If you or someone you know knows someone that is falling down the QAnon rabbit hole, I'd like to hear from you. And until next time, until then, I should say, see you all next time on Doomed.